technology isn't all scary. There's also fun stuff like gaming.
Lots of women do play games, whether it's on their phones or their tablets.
Then there are Africans who are using new tools to make other people's lives much easier.
We typed the whole CV on a small, QWERTY Nokia phone.
For all these and other technology and social media news, join me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time on SABC News.
It's 900 hours Central African Time on this Friday, the 25th of March 2016. It's Easter Friday. This is Newsroom on SABC News on Channel 404. Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome as we broadcast live from our Auckland Park studios, Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. I'm Elvis Preston. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock. This is...
I'm Renee Vess, and it's a pleasure to be here. And you know, Elvis, lots of people are making their way on holiday this weekend, so please be careful on the roads.
That's it. Be careful. We're also streaming live on YouTube with the entire show available on our YouTube channel. Now, our focus today is on the 2016 Easter traffic, as Renee just mentioned. There's volumes, and of course, there is sports. South African cricket team and Bafana Bafana are facing crucial matches this long weekend. Now, instead of asking you a question today, we rather request you to send your messages of support to both the Proteas and Bafana Bafana, your favorite team. Send us your messages on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on our Facebook page. If you like us there on the Facebook page, you become part of the informed here on Newsroom. But first, let's take a look at your news headlines. Officials in Nigeria says Boko Haram militants have abducted 16 women in a remote northeastern area. Belgian police arrest 6 people in connection with Tuesday's terror attacks in Brussels. And the Road Traffic Management Corporation, the RTMC, says that law enforcement agencies will continue to maintain high visibility today. Now, those are all your headlines, but before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening on the sports front. A big day for sports today. Kendall, good morning.
Good morning, Elvis, and a happy Easter to you as well as to everybody at home. It's a massive day. It's a massive weekend. As Elvis alluded a little earlier, this is what we've got for you in the sports today. Tributes pour in as Johan Cruyff, the legendary Ajax and Barcelona striker and coach, dies of cancer at the age of 68.
Slips it away to Fourie de Preer, and de Preer for the try, and South Africa's captain.
Talismanic Springbok scrum half Fourie de Preer calls it a day on his sterling rugby career.
A classic scrum half try.
The Proteas face off against the powerful West Indies in a crucial World Cup clash in Nagpur today. Of course, it being Easter Friday and a special day, I'll be doing sports at about 9:30 or so today, not an hour later as normal. But back to you, Elvis, for now.
Thank you, Kendall, and let's hope that today, as the Afrikaners would say, is not Nag in Nagpur for the Proteas. Our top story this hour. Belgian police have arrested 6 people in connection with Tuesday's terror attacks in Brussels. But a huge manhunt is still going on for the 3rd attacker at the Brussels airport, whose bomb failed to go off. The arrest came on a day when Belgium's Justice and Interior ministers offered to resign over revelations that 3 of the Brussels attackers were known to the police. Meanwhile, the Belgian King and the Queen led the country in observing a minute of silence on the 3rd and final day of mourning for the 31 people killed and 300 injured in the attacks. Belgium has lowered its terror alert to the 2nd highest level for the first time since the attacks, but soldiers still guard key sites and public transport are shut down again in the early evening. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is due to arrive in Brussels today in a show of solidarity. On the African continent, officials in Nigeria say that Boko Haram militants have abducted 16 women in a remote northeastern area. The women were seized when they were out gathering firewood and fishing in Adamawa State. A local resident says 2 of the abducted women managed to escape. 2 years ago, on the night of the 14th and 15th of April, Boko Haram kidnapped 276 female students from the government secondary school in the town of Chibok in Borno State. A few of the schoolgirls managed to escape. The Youth Forum, Pambili Mzansi, has hosted a dialogue that sought to find ways to fund free higher education. Speaking to the gathering of students and academics, Johannesburg Mayor Park Stow praised the students for reawakening the debate about access to funding in the higher education sector.
We should acknowledge as South Africans the importance of youth activism and the contribution that young people have made to public discourse and to policy in the country, in particular over the past 2 years. I think that young people in our country have taken it upon themselves to raise complex socio-economic issues that need to be confronted. And I think that the message was to say to them that it is important to raise these issues, to engage with them, and to ensure that people are able to participate in the discourse, and that as a society we should celebrate it. The second part of the discussion was to say, what are the different policy options that are available? What are the complexities that we need to deal with? And I think to say to everybody that the discussion about, for example, fees must fall, is a discussion about creating equitable access to education, and that maybe the problem cannot only be resolved from access for those who are already in the system. It is also about creating access for those that might be outside the system, and that maybe the problem is not going to be resolved only on the expenditure side, but can also be resolved on the revenue side. So it requires a comprehensive set of policy debates in the country about what progressive and or regressive elements of public policies there are that could contribute to changing the direction of our education system.
Another exclusive for the SABC. An SABC News crew has uncovered the illegal sale of vehicle documentation at a notorious Johannesburg testing station. Now, they were able to secure a car license disc and the owner's particulars illegally for just over R1,000 at the Langlaagte testing station. One Johannesburg Metro Police Department official is now under investigation. SABC's investigative reporter Griselda Lewis and camera person Kenna Mabina filed this report.
The Langlaagte testing station said to be fraught with corruption. Scamsters working with JMPD officials sell car papers illegally. We track one and call him.
Imoto ayikho lana. Imoto isa Eastern Cape.
What is the more important thing about ID? Okay, finally you want to mail and then
when we arrive, we spot the fraudster casually pacing the corridors. Outside, he demands money. At our next meeting, to our surprise, more money is demanded. We do an electronic transfer and receive this complete license document of an unknown person and his card details and the disc. The price tag, R1,500. We then alert JMPD.
There is a possibility that she could be linked to a lot of other fraud where she issued license discs or even registering of vehicle fraudulently. So there is going to be a wider case, and then also where she will have to be charged criminally after being dealt with internally.
While the official in question is expected to be charged next week, the Johannesburg Metro Police Department does not rule out the possibility that more corrupt officials will be implicated in the vehicle document scandal. Griselda Lewis, SABC News in Johannesburg.
The Road Traffic Management Corporation, RTMC, says that law enforcement agencies will continue to maintain high visibility today. Now, traffic was heavy on major routes across the country yesterday as the Easter exodus got underway. Many travellers were heading to Moria in Limpopo, where the ZCC Church is holding its annual Easter pilgrimage. Late yesterday afternoon, Pumlani Toll Plaza on the N1 towards Polokwane recorded more than 1,500 vehicles per hour. Traffic officials say the death toll in the week leading up to Easter dropped by 60% compared to last year. Now, they plan to sustain their efforts through the long weekend. Now, Limpopo Transport MEC Mapula Mokaba Pokwana now joined the traffic officers at a roadblock on the N1 outside Mokopane. The MEC now joins us from our SABC studios in Polokwane. MEC, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Now, MEC, the roads and transport authorities in Limpopo have expressed concern about the high number of motorists who are not obeying traffic rules. Do you have a message for those road users indulging in such behavior?
As is now, I think everything is in order because our law enforcement is everywhere. We are doing visibility everywhere, especially with the R71 to Moria. To our motorists, we are still saying, please obey the rules of the road. Don't speed.
Now, obviously, the exodus to the Great North, it is of great concern. What preparations has your department put in place? And did you pass the test in checking on yesterday the flow of traffic to this morning?
Yes, you are right with what happened with the bus with Great North buses, because lastly when we went to the depot to go and check the Great North buses, we found that 14 of those buses were not roadworthy. So as the department, we have suspended them for some time so that they must make sure that they take their buses back to their to services. This morning we only have one challenge with the bus from Gauteng, whereby it was only a tire burst. So everyone is still safe in the bus. There were no injuries.
Now, did you have any challenges with the roads leading to Moria? Because we understand there were some problems on some of the passes there.
We didn't have much challenges. The only challenges that we're having is with taxis from Gauteng coming to Limpopo, that we found that our main challenge is that there were some few taxis that we have impounded that they were not roadworthy, and some of the taxi drivers, they were not having documentations. And the other challenges is with our passengers, that they don't use the safety belts. But we tried by all means at least to pass the message to every taxi, that to tell the passengers that they must always use the safety belts.
Now, you joined a roadblock outside Mokopane. How was that experience for you, and what were some of the things that you've observed there?
As is now, because as you know, the attitude of our people, the minute they see the blue light, they start behaving. Once they don't see the blue light, then that's where they start with their bad attitude. As is now, we don't have much challenges with the motorists.
The road to Moria as well as Beitbridge are some of the focal points in your particular province. Any special arrangements that you have for this particular year for these two focal points?
The road to Moria, everything is in order because our law enforcement, they are there to make sure that everything is in order. Even the R81 to Hasukhopo, our law enforcement also are there. So as is now, I think everything is still well.
Now, so we do know that we have a high death toll on our roads, MEC, and especially in Limpopo. Is enough being done in terms of road safety around the Easter period as well as the Christmas period where people normally die this time of the year?
Yes, it is a challenge that, especially with, we are having a serious challenge, especially with this these cars that we call Bomalaisha, people with heavy loads, the ones that are traveling from Gauteng past Polokwane to Messina. This is our main challenge because you find that with those heavy loads, even when we check inside the cars, we find that they're overloaded. This is our main challenge, but we are trying by all means to deal with that kind of a situation, because we don't allow heavy loads anymore, because we take them to our way bridges, at least to try by all means to reduce their luggages.
Mm-hmm. So the Malaysia is a serious problem in terms of road accidents, you think?
It is a very serious challenge with us, with Malaysia, because they can't even control their trailers, because because with the luggage that they're loading, it's too much.
Mm-hmm. Now, just for the viewers' sake, for those outside of our borders, Malaysia is, of course, a vehicle that's overloaded with heavy loads right on top of it, right to the top, and even more than what it should carry. Is that correct?
It is, yes, it's correct.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's move on to other problem areas that you've identified in Limpopo. What are those, MEC, that can be rectified in order to bring down the road death toll in that area?
The only thing that can reduce the fatality and the crashes, it's only the attitude of our people. Our people must learn to behave. Mm-hmm. Because there is nothing wrong with our roads. The only challenge is the attitude, the behavior. Because every time when you stop people with that kind of attitude, when you tell the person that please don't speed, the answer from that person will be telling you that the speed in my car is 320, and why must I not drive 320 or 310, of which they know that it is not allowed in South Africa. So the only challenge all over, not only in Limpopo, is the attitude of our motorists.
But what do we do to change that attitude, MEC? Shouldn't there be more heavier fines than what is currently on the cards for people that drive more than 120?
This is the only thing, because as is now in Limpopo, if we impound your car, if your car is not roadworthy, we're charging them 5,000. We are not going to charge 5,000 anymore. We are going to charge 10,000. To the small motorist with a small vehicle, we're only going to charge 5,000. With the kumbis, it's going to be 10,000. With the buses, it's 20,000.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, MEC, your message for all road users and motorists this Easter weekend to Limpopo.
To all our motorists traveling to Moria or to other places for holiday, we are saying, please continue to obey the rules of the roads. Don't forget that we also have pedestrians. And with our pedestrians, we are saying, please make sure that before you cross the road, make sure that you are safe. And if you are traveling at night as a pedestrian, make sure that at least if you can just wear something that is lighter so that the motorists can see you at a distance.
MEC, thank you so much for your time and joining us here on Newsroom.
Thank you very much, and have a blessed Easter.
And that was Limpopo Transport MEC Mapula Mokaba Bokwana joining us from Limpopo at our Polokwane studios. Now, there's a number of comments that you can let us know what's on your mind on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on the Facebook page. You can also let us know if you're driving, what's on your mind, if the roads are safe, or if you are experiencing any problems. Also let us know on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on the Facebook page. Now, let's take a look at some of your comments this morning. The National Interfaith Council of South Africa is appealing to communities to exercise religious and racial tolerance over the Easter holidays. And here's some of your comments. This one from Abba says, Pope Francis, we have different cultures and religions, but we are brothers and we want to live in peace. Hashtag Good Friday from, is that AB? Yes, and this one from Captain says, today is a day which symbolizes sacrifice and forgiveness. May it bring peace and compassion to our heart and soul. Have a blessed Good Friday. That one from Captain Amarindra. This one from Dr. U.S. Aswati says, have a blessed hashtag Good Friday, symbol of sacrifice, forgiveness, and may it bring peace and compassion to the heart and the soul. Let's spread love and affection, says Dr. U.S. Aswati. Advocate Tuli Madonsela have tweeted us, have a blessed hashtag Good Friday. That's from Advocate Tuli Madonsela, the public protector, giving us her blessings for the Easter weekend. What's yours? Let us know at SABC Newsroom. Let's take a look now at some of the front pages from the newspapers around the globe, and we start off in Europe. The Times reports that 11 Belgian nuclear workers have had their work passes revoked amid fears that the Brussels bombers were plotting to build a radiological dirty bomb. This one moving to China now. The South China Morning Post says that China's anti-doping agency said yesterday it has recorded 6% positive drug tests by Chinese swimmers. And finally, in New York, the International New York Times report that top Belgium officials yesterday acknowledged miscommunications and other errors in the lead-up to the Brussels suicide bombings, as growing evidence of links to the Paris assault by the Islamic State suggested that a wide network of trained attackers leading back to Syria is now rooted in Europe. Now let's take a look at what's happening around the country today. This is some of our news coming up, and here in Johannesburg, where President Jacob Zuma is expected to attend the Good Friday event to be held at Ellis Park Stadium by the Universal Church. Then in Durban, the festival of the Chariots, sometimes referred to as Ratayatra, is taking place today. The festival celebrates Lord Krishna's return to Vrindavan and is held annually to honor Lord Jagannatha, which means Lord of the Universe. And in Cape Town, civil rights activist and former United States ambassador to the United Nations Andrew Young is expected to meet the Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu at St. George's Cathedral prior to the Good Friday service. Now we'll be sure to keep you updated of these events happening today, so stay tuned here on your station of choice, Newsroom. Let's take a break.
Technology isn't all scary. There's also fun stuff like gaming.
Lots of women do play games, whether it's on their phones or their tablets.
Then there are Africans who are using new tools to make other people's lives much easier.
We typed the whole CV on a small, QWERTY Nokia phone.
For all these and other technology and social media news, join me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time on SABC News.
I'm Peter Miller. And I'm Babakini Chetty Miller, SAB Miller, and Hauser Bush InBev. It's something that I need to learn to say more often.
Will together produce around a third of the world's beer.
It is a mouthful. Have you ever considered skin bleaching? Nigeria tops the list of African countries with 77% of its women bleaching their skin.
Now I can see that it is not good because it affects my face and some of my body parts.
Thousands of Arab Israelis and Palestinians participated in a big rally.
Flight MH17 was shot down by a Russian-made missile.
How those chips may fall is a prediction best left to the currency of time.
That's Primetime News, Africa Journal, and Your World on SABC News.
Now, the Gauteng Legislature Portfolio Committee on Roads and Transport Portfolio is embarking on a road safety campaign focusing on the promotion of good driver behaviour. Concerned by the high accident rate in the province, the Portfolio Committee will roll out the campaign, I Pledge to be a Good Driver. Now, that's towards Easter holidays to raise awareness and to promote road safety. Now, for more on the story in our studios, we are joined by the Honourable Jacob Kawe, Gauteng Provincial Legislature Chairperson of Roads and Transport Portfolio Committee. A very good morning to you and welcome, sir.
Good morning, Elvis, and good morning to the viewers at home.
First and foremost, tell us about this particular campaign, I Pledge to be a Good Driver.
This is the campaign we launched last year in October with the intention to make sure that drivers take the responsibility. We know that there are a number of factors involved in accidents, the conditions of roads, the worthiness of vehicles and so on. But we believe that the driver behavior is the major cause of road accidents. And we thought as a legislature, perhaps we need a campaign to talk to individual drivers, to talk to a conscience of a driver, to talk to a person and say, let me pledge to be a good driver, let me pledge to do all what needs to be done to ensure safety in our roads.
Now, we heard the MEC just before you as well saying the very same thing, that it's driver behavior that need to change, and attitude. That's the main thing. But how are you going to change that attitude with the drivers just signing a pledge?
We think that if somebody makes a commitment, rather than just a general call, if you come to us and say, I want to pledge to be a good driver, we've seen with various drivers that we have spoke to on the roads, that they think that this is a useful campaign. We're of course mindful that it's not something that we can achieve. It's not like building a house. It's another terrain of a struggle where you're talking to individual consciousness. And because many people have already taken bad behavior as normal behavior. So we are conscious that it's not an easy campaign, but we are determined as the legislature, and we think that we will at some point achieve a good driver behavior.
Honourable Kawe, but so give us a breakdown of how do you do it? Do you go to each individual driver and let them sign the pledge, or how does it work?
We inviting people to sign a pledge online with the Gauteng legislature. We embark on roadblocks, working together with the law enforcement agencies, Gauteng Traffic, various metropolis, and we stop drivers and we talk to them. Some they do sign the pledge, some they say they are not yet ready to sign the pledge, and we think that opportunities like this one also gives us that space to talk to drivers and say to them, we are now talking to you as a person. We've been talking to people generally as communities, but this campaign is based on an individual, and we want an individual consciousness to take that decision that I will be a good driver. But
isn't it part intimidating for a driver to be stopped at a roadblock and be asked to sign a pledge, and if you don't, then you might be seen like to be a bad driver?
Perhaps, perhaps it could be, because I experienced that yesterday with a few drivers who say, should I sign? And what would you do with my name and my signature? Perhaps issues of trust and so on. But that's the first best way, is to talk to an individual and to talk to them while they're driving. One gentleman yesterday said to me, no, indeed I will pledge to be a good driver, but he had not wet his seat belt. And I was saying that's the first wrong thing. Let's start there.
Yes.
So it may be intimidating, yes, but it's a necessary way that we must embark on to ensure that we talk to drivers while they are driving.
So you need to correct your past in order to move forward. Now, how the campaign started last year, October. How's the Gautengers taking it up so far? How many people have you get
drivers
signed up?
have welcomed the campaign. We're getting feedback via our online as a legislature. But also when we embark on these roadblocks, we do get a positive feedback of drivers. Some people actually are calling for us to do it every day. So if we had nothing else to do, I would also say let's do it daily. But unfortunately, there are other programs that we must embark on. So we would rely on media to spread the gospel. But so far, yes, people are receiving it positively.
How is the I Pledge to be a good driver campaign going to be different from other campaigns that we currently do have?
It is not intending to be different. It's intending to complement other programs. It also goes hand in hand with the visibility of law enforcement. So we are conscious that it's not one effort and it's not one person that can bring a solution to this problem. It's all of us working together with various strategies to seek to resolve this problem of road accidents.
Now, we believe that you went to specific areas, President Street, the N3, the N12 and the Golden Highway. Why these particular areas specifically that you've
We're
chosen?
informed by the states, we're informed by the report that we receive from community safety. They would know at quarterly basis which areas have a problem. As we said, we started at Moloto Road in October. We went to Woodmead in Johannesburg. And yesterday we were at N12, R28 in Randfontein, and Golden Highway in Everton. So we're informed by statistics, but also we're trying to spread the message across the province. So we'll be embarking on areas of Ekurhuleni in the next campaign.
Why President Street here in Johannesburg, Central City? I'm trying to figure that out.
President Street and Risic Street. It's the intersection between BRT buses, taxis, vehicles as they come down to town.
And people would know it as Bree.
Yes, people know it's Bree, closer to Bree, in fact. So we thought it's more strategic. It's an interaction of various modes of transport. As I said, you have BRT, you have Gautrain, bus, we have taxis, and you have normal drivers. But equally because it's closer to the legislature, and we wanted people to know the legislature. So it's a campaign run by legislature, and some people may not know where is legislature. So it's also to be identical and show people that this is where we're based, and anytime you want us, you'll find us here as representatives in the province.
I also want to go back to Maloto Road, a very dangerous route. What is the update on that road? There was talk about making the road wider, some more traffic enforcement on the road. What is currently happening there?
The Gauteng part of the road, about 42 kilometers, there has been improvement on that. We have checked the statistics. There's very little reports coming of road accidents. The bigger portion is at Limpopo, and I had the MEC partly touch on that. But it's a national project. The minister last time was talking about perhaps extending the rail transport, improving it to reduce the number of vehicles on that road. So there's a long-term plan by national government working together with the 3 provinces involved on that road.
Just finally, Honourable, your message to motorists this Easter weekend.
This Easter weekend, we must avoid any distraction when we drive. Some people took it as a joke, and I was even saying when you drive to Moria, don't drink a 2-liter Coca-Cola or tea while you're driving because it's a distraction. People must avoid to be distracted. People must avoid cell phones. People must avoid drinking and driving. So all forms of distractions, people must avoid that. And every driver must say, I have a project to do. I have a point A and point B to drive. Let me focus on driving. And once I'm done, then I can do everything else.
Honourable Kawe, thank you so much for joining us here in studio.
Thank you very much.
That was Honourable Jacob Kawe, the Gauteng Provincial Legislature's chairperson of Roads and Transport Portfolio Committee, joining us here in studio. Now, you can send us your comments, of course, to the Twitter handle. And, of course, we also want you to tell us your comments on, or maybe just feedback on the Bafana Bafana game that's coming up tomorrow, as well as the Proteas is playing today is a deadline, really. It's one of those matches that they play that will either take them forward or they will be out. Now, you can send us on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as like us on the Facebook page, and we'll read them a little bit later. Now, tributes have been pouring in for the Holland football legend, Johan Cruyff, who died of cancer at the age of 68. Now remember, send us your comments to SABC Newsroom. Let's take a look at some of those comments, and we can find them on the screen on the Twitter handle. This one from #Dangote says, and the legacy will continue. #Johan Cruyff, that's #Dangote at Moran. Moshin Ahmed says, we have lost another legend. Johan Cruyff is defined an era in the world of football, says Moshin Ahmed. This one from Hussein Maruf says, sad news from the football world yesterday. Johan Cruyff, you forever remain in our memory. You are a true legend. Now look at that picture there. There's Messi and there's Cruyff. Great football legend there. Kendall, if you look at this particular guy, Kendall has just joined us now in studio also to go through this. There's Luis Garcia, eh?
Yeah, well, we don't know if it's the same Luis Garcia who's an actor or not, but he calls himself Lucho Garcia. He says not long ago in Tanzania, they were having a laugh about football. Always football, rest in peace, Johan Cruyff, #14. This guy was an absolute legend. I believe that this man has revolutionized modern football. What we know as modern football is because of Johan Cruyff.
They said that he was probably one of the greatest footballers ever. And there's not many people that know about him, because everybody knows about Pele, but I think when Pele was chosen as the #1 soccer player of all time, he was second.
No, he was definitely second, and I think his legacy has lasted longer because we've got the Pep Guardiola saying, I learned at the feet of this man. We've got the Ronald Koemans saying, I learned from the feet of this man. We've got the Mourinho's, who are the antithesis of what Johan Cruyff says, but by doing that, he's actually paying tribute to how great a footballer and schemer and tactician that Johan Cruyff was.
Well, let's take a look at some of your Facebook comments, and let's start off here in Europe now. The Belgian police arrested 6 people in their probe of Tuesday's Islamic State suicide bombings in Brussels, while authorities in France said they thwarted a militant plot there that was at an advanced stage. Now, here at home in KwaZulu-Natal, police are investigating the deaths of at least 4 people who allegedly took drugs. You can see the picture there, you can see it there. And then finally, also in KwaZulu-Natal, Ngeni Water says that current water restrictions will remain in place in parts of Durban despite relatively good rainfall this month. Now, for more news and updates, you can follow us on Facebook. You can just search for Newsroom. By the way, if you look for the Newsroom tag, you go on YouTube, just type in Newsroom, type in the date. That is the date that you're looking for, either today, tomorrow, yesterday, whatever it might be, and that program will come up and you can look at the entire program. How is that for convenience, even on your computer? We'll take a break and we'll be right back after that. Kendall is standing by with some cracking interviews on some of the stories that we covered, or that broke the death of Johan Cruyff, as well as the performance of the cricketers this today. It's going to be a humdinger, as well as Bafana Bafana of the weekend. Send us your condolences, your comments rather, to at SABC Newsroom, as well as on our Facebook page.
They are basically arresting him, continue to arrest him on behalf of the apartheid government.
We are dealing with effects. We are not dealing with the causes. And for as long as we deal with effects, we are never going to solve this problem.
What do these people need in prison? Why are they there? The PAC, as Dr. Peku is saying, has been seeking answers, and they're not coming.
What kind of answers are you getting?
I really think I've answered that question.
I think it's a difficult question. I don't have an answer for it. How was it possible that they could operate with such impunity?
The only thing you want is closure.
The only thing we want is closure. And unfortunately, I don't really have sympathy for the idea that if you're too old, you shouldn't stand trial.
That's Rights and Recourse with Dumile Mateza, every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central African Time, only on the SABC News Channel.
Welcome back. My name is Kendall Makhamat, and I've got your sports on Newsroom. As Elvis says, it's a crackover weekend of sports ahead of us, but before that, there are quite a few things we need to get through, amongst them being South Africa's Rugby World Cup winning scrum half. Fourie du Preez has retired, ending a 15-year professional career that included World, Tri-Nations and Super Rugby titles. The South African Rugby Union says du Preez, who played his final game for the Springboks at last year's World Cup, confirmed his retirement on Thursday. He ended his career at club level with Suntory St. Goliath of Japan, where he also won national titles. Now, the 34-year-old du Preez was a pivotal member of South Africa's World Cup winning team of 2007. Now, I'll tell you this, he played 76 tests for the Springboks between 2004 as well as 2015. And in a mark of his success, he won more games than he lost against South Africa's Southern Hemisphere. Now, against rivals New Zealand and Australia.
You can't come to tournaments as big as a World Cup and think you're going to win it on your own. You need the support of our whole country. And we've certainly felt the support during the first week. Being here, playing a couple of warm-up games, we've definitely felt a great vibe back home.
Basically, anyone can send a message. As long as you use the hashtag #ProteaFire, then it automatically loads up onto the web page, and what happens is the whole team can view it. They can see it on their phones. There's messages up in the team room. Plug the computer in and guys can actually see on the big projectors, and that really helps a lot.
to have it in our team room here while we're playing our pool competition, getting a physio treatment with our team meetings. We've got this big screen up here the whole time. New messages of support, refreshing the whole time. I can see so many of them right there now on the screen. So it's great to see that, and it definitely motivates you a little bit to go out there and perform a bit better.
On the screen here, we've got two wonderful athletes running, AB de Villiers and Kyle Abbott, and I see they've got different running techniques. AB's got the floppy hands going, which is quite funny. I think we'll have a good laugh about that. So all the various messages come up on here, and you know, that type of thing just gives everybody a smile and keeps it light-hearted, but at the same token, it keeps us inspired.
It's incredible to see the amount of support. It keeps refreshing, and yeah, it's awesome to know there's a lot of fans out there behind us.
And you know, when you're far away from home, it's always lovely to touch base, and we feel the love that we're getting from all our supporters, and we're really grateful for that. You know, we have some big games coming up, and all the support and the messages of inspiration from everybody. We get to see it and we get to enjoy it, and we share it amongst the team to kind of G everybody up.
All you got to do is, at the end of your message, put #ProteaFire, and it will come directly to our team room, and we'll be able to read them. It's a great way to interact with the fans back home.
Does it have to be at the end of your message, the ProteaFire?
It can be at the beginning.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Anywhere. Anywhere.
#ProteaFire. Anywhere. Not at the end of your message. Anywhere.
Right, now, of course, the Proteas are up against it in the next two World Cup matches. First up, they've got the Windies and Chris Gayle. And then they have Sri Lanka on Tuesday. Hussein Manak was on Sports Live.
Exactly. So you simply can't just write them off. They've got some quality players. Sri Lanka, I think, are probably the weaker of the nations. I think they're not playing good cricket somehow. They just don't seem to be gelling and clicking at the moment. Their cricket back home is a little bit of a mess.
You say the weaker of the squads. I'm thinking, one would have thought Afghanistan.
Yeah, no, look, you're not the weakest in the group, but you know, when you compare them to the other top nations, I think you know, Sri Lanka are not playing well at the moment. They've lost most of their senior players, have retired, so a lot of the youngsters who should be stepping up and taking over have not really done their job as well as they could. So they're battling. And I think if South Africa overcome West Indies tomorrow, they will really then fancy themselves to beat Sri Lanka and then go through to the semi-final.
Yeah, I think, I mean, everyone is expecting us to go through. So let's start there. Do we tinker with that squad against Afghanistan, or do we say, look, let's see what they can do now? Because again, you don't want to make too many changes, because we know what they can do. We know how powerful that South African outfit can be, both with bat and ball. What do we do if you're a selector?
Yeah, look, I think the one thing is they're playing in Nagpur. So Nagpur is, we saw that very first game India played New Zealand. It generally is a turning pitch. When South Africa played in Nagpur during the Test series recently, it also was spinning square. So apparently, from what I've just picked up in the news, that they were going to play on a very old pitch, a used, worn-out dry pitch, but apparently it's been changed. It's a newish pitch, which should turn a bit less, but apparently will still turn. So Nagpur has got a reputation for being quite a bit of a spinning pitch. So, you know, South Africa's other spinner in the squad is Aaron Pangiso. So there is a good chance he could play tomorrow, along with
two spinners.
So if South Africa go with two spinners, I think that would probably be, that looks at the moment quite likely.
Especially with the loss of JP as well.
Exactly. And with JP out, remember, he was playing as a second spinner. So with JP out, it's not, in India, especially in Nagpur, it's going to be very difficult for South Africa to go in with just one spinner, with one spin option.
We've got about 30 seconds left. Something we need to touch on again today, Mr. Cricket, I mean, I like to call him. I think he was probably one of the better, cricketers out there. Shane Watson retired as well after T20, announcing that today. Take us through your experience on that guy.
Yeah, look, I mean, Shane Watson, for quite a few years, almost a decade, was one of the top all-rounders in world cricket. So I think he'll be, once he retires, he'll certainly be a loss. But he was also coming, picking up a few injuries and so forth. So I think you do reach that stage where you come towards the end of your career. And I think he'll definitely be a loss to world cricket.
I mean, I think it was on the warm base of the writing when he was, after the Ashes and later dropped from the Test squad as well.
Correct. Yeah. But I mean, what he does, being an all-rounder, and we know there's certainly a shortage of all-rounders in world cricket. We've seen during the IPL and even for Australia, he brings that balance to the team, doesn't he? Because he can bowl a few overs, bats at the top of the order, he certainly can balance the team quite well. So he'll be must.
Yeah, Hussein Manak, thank you very much for speaking to us right on Sports and Prime. Unfortunately, that's where we have to wrap it.
Now, a story that's been trending throughout the world for the last 20 to 24 hours. Dutch football legend Johan Cruyff has died at the age of 68 after losing his battle with cancer. Cruyff, who made his name as a forward with Ajax and Barcelona, was the European Footballer of the Year 3 times. He won 3 consecutive European Cups with Ajax from 1971, coached Barcelona to their first European Cup triumph in 1992, and helped the Dutch reach the 1974 World Cup final, where they were beaten 2-1 by West Germany. Barcelona won 4 consecutive La Liga titles from 1990-91 to 1993-94 under his guidance, and although he was sacked in 1995, he remained influential at the club for the rest of his life. He's widely considered to be the father of modern football. The likes of Frank Rijkaard, Pep Guardiola, Ronald Koeman, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, all learnt at his feet. Cruyff was diagnosed with lung cancer in October last year. And may his soul rest in peace. Now, staying with all things football, I've got Kuja Mankwa, who's going to be chatting a little bit to us about Bafana Bafana and their options and chances in their match against Cameroon tomorrow afternoon, as well as Tuesday afternoon, as well as a little bit about Johan Cruyff, who passed away so suddenly for some people who didn't know that he had lung cancer. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Newsroom.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Kujo, it is totally left field. When we talked about you coming through today, we had no idea that Johan Cruyff was going to be passing away. What do you make of the impact that Cruyff has had on football worldwide?
A legend of the game, one of the pioneers of the creators of modern-day football. He played in the finals for Holland against West Germany, as you've alluded to in your intro, and he lost 2-1 to West Germany. For me, you know, seeing tweets from the likes of Koeman, the likes of Pep Guardiola, the likes of Jose Mourinho, you know, inspired me the most. And he's got a son who spoke last night very emotionally about the dead. One thing we can take, he's gone but never forgotten. He's left immense legacy on the modern day game. And people always remember him and have fond memories of his playing on the field.
He's the one who created total football, that Ajax Amsterdam started first there, and then he took it to Barcelona, and then the Spanish national side took it over, and everybody else is trying that total football style.
A great gentleman of the game. Even in his old days, if you look at his visuals, he looked very calm. There was an essence or element of simplicity about him, and yet very firm. He had his principles. He knew how the game should be played. And then he played it himself, and he impacted it after retiring into other players. And all the coaches you mentioned all learned under his feet, including the one and only, the special one, Jose Mourinho.
I take it you're a big Jose Mourinho fan, because if I were in your shoes or if I were in your seat, I would have said, including Pep Guardiola.
I would say including Jose Mourinho, because I like Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
He's a man of stats. He learned the game very well. He started as an interpreter, and yet, if you look at the achievement he's scaled, you can see that indeed he's a strong and a very fast learner. And I like him because of his principles and the way he sort of gives players confidence. I remember when Didier Drogba moved from France to England, they were saying he's a diver in the box, and he told him you were the best. And from there, Didier Drogba never looked back. We all know what he's achieved before leaving England.
No, very true, very true. Kujo, let's move on to the next big one. And actually, before I even carry on, may his soul rest in peace. And his legacy will last for a really long time, if not forever. Yeah, Kujo, we've got Bafana Bafana playing a match against Cameroon, a must-win, crucial tie, a back-to-back tie with Cameroon. Do they have a chance of winning this match?
Football is very dynamic, and football is very unpredictable. As a result, you cannot predict the game until it's been played. And when it's 11 against 11, even though the Cameroonians have home advantage, they've never lost home over the last 30 years. That presents Sheikh Mashaba and his charges a very formidable challenge. But one can also recall that when Bafana Bafana was readmitted, or when South African football was readmitted into the international football fraternity, their first game was against Cameroon in 1992. And in 1992, they were hot. Because if you recall, 2 years earlier, they had scaled the world in Italia, 1990, becoming the first African country to qualify into the quarterfinals en route to beating England. And 2 penalties against England is what helped them. And in 1992, Bafana Bafana beat them 1-0 in Durban, with Dr. Kumaru scoring that long goal. 4 years later,
which was a penalty, by the way.
Which was a penalty. 4 years later, in 1996, in the round-robin stages, South Africa string 3 goals past Cameroon, and that could give them confidence going into this game that they can be beatable. But I'll tell you, it's a very huge mountain in front of Shakes Mashaba and the boys.
Yeah, exactly. It's a massive mountain. The reason why I even posed the question to you in that fashion was because leading up to this particular tie, Shakes has been, well, not accused, he's been criticized for picking off-form players who are not starters, who just, who are actually not doing the best in their clubs if they are playing. And he said himself, in the absence of the best, he'll make the worst their best, knowing full well that he doesn't have the kind of squad that will win against Cameroon.
He says, in the absence of the best, he will go with the West. And I think it's a slip of tongue. English is not our language, it's the Queen's language. Perhaps if he was speaking in Shangaan or Zulu, he could have put it much better. Yes. If I'm speaking in Ashanti or Chi or Akan.
What was he saying?
He was trying to say, in the absence of the West, anything goes. But I guess English not being our language, and I won't take him too much hard on. I guess he should have included Keegan Dolly. There is an excuse that Keegan Dolly is playing for the under-23. Under-23 in a friendly game in Brazil is not important. We've got a max-win game. The nation have invested a lot of emotions in the national team. 53 million people. And Bafana Bafana must go to Limbe in Cameroon and get the results tomorrow and ensure that they get their campaign back on track. The last time Bafana started on a campaign and had 2 points from 2 games in a World Cup qualifier with 2 coaches. They never made it. That was Peter Mutsimani and Steve Compella. They played Ethiopia and, of course, Botswana, and they drew and they never made it. This time around, they have 2 games with a point. They've drawn against Minos, Gambia in South Africa. They went to Mauritania and they were ambushed because they didn't know where they were. And at the end of regulation time, it was 3-1. They've got 1 point from 2 games. And that presents a very huge challenge. I guess if South Africa is able to beat Cameroon in Cameroon, then they will beat Cameroon in Durban. And by 6 points, they will get 7 points and they will throw the whole group very open. But it's easier said than done. It's going to be very difficult. There are a lot of injuries in the Cameroonian squad. Vincent Abubakar, their number 1 hit man, is not in the squad. And Alexon, who was calling to patrol the likes of Andile Jali in the middle of the pack, is injured, is not going to be there. Eno Young is not in the squad. And that presents maybe an opportunity for Bafana Bafana to take advantage.
Cujo, a lot of conjecture. We're hoping that they do take advantage of the opportunities that they're given, that they come back with the 3 points. And that look that we saw in Shakes Mashaba's coach's face, we hope that we don't see any of that in the next 2 matches. Cujo, thank you so much for coming through. We do want to talk to you and maybe look at a review of this match and a preview of the next one on Tuesday.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Kuja Mankwa, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hope for the best for both national teams. But we'll be back at the top of the hour, which is in about 5 minutes' time, with more news, analysis, and more Newsroom. Stay close.
Manor produces abstract and symbolic works of art. He called his latest collection Vote with Ink, Not Blood.
Praying for peace, literally, in my own way.
The South African film titled Luister or Listen in Afrikaans tackles issues of race in the country.
I think that the end goal is the reformation of institutional culture, but how we get there is in fact through changing the language policy so that no student is forced to learn in Afrikaans.
It's fashion designers like Julian Poko who are starting to pay more attention to menswear and hope to make a mark in the fashion industry.
So regardless of whether you're African, European, there's certain styles that you like. So if an African man enjoys wearing simple, well-tailored pants, then yes, I guess.
Join Refulo Mula for that 1-hour weekly dose of arts and entertainment news every Friday at 9 p.m. on Trends.
News Today takes an in-depth look on news locally, continentally, and globally. We bring the world to your home. We cover all economy news extensively to keep you informed. We are live to break news as and when they happen across the world. We analyze news using experts in all aspects. Make a date with News Today every Monday to Friday from 3 to 5:30 p.m.
Children's rights and health are a priority in the journey of good health.
All children should have access to adequate health care, not only curative but preventative as well.
How to identify ADHD on children.
ADHD is a childhood disorder which manifests with the symptoms of hyperactivity, impulsivity, and/or inattention.
Is breastfeeding still a vital nutrition to babies even today?
Breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life is absolutely crucial.
Catch Health Talk with Dr. Sello Mutawung every Saturday from 9 till 10 a.m.
They are basically arresting him, continue to arrest him on behalf of the apartheid government.
We are dealing with effects. We are not dealing with the causes. And for as long as we deal with effects, we are never going to solve this problem.
What do these people need in prison? Why are they there? The PAC, as Dr. Pegu is saying, has been seeking answers, and they're not coming.
What kind of answers are you getting?
I really think I've answered that question.
I think it's a difficult question. I don't have an answer for it. How was it possible that they could operate with such impunity?
The only thing you want is closure.
The only thing we want is closure. And unfortunately, I don't really have sympathy for the idea that if you're too old, you shouldn't stand trial.
That's Rights and Recourse with Dumile Mateza every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central African Time, only on the SABC News Channel.
It's 10:00 hours Central Africa time on this Friday, the 25th of March 2016. As you know, it's Easter Friday. This is Newsroom on SABC News, Channel 404, Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to the second hour as we broadcast live from Auckland Park, here in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. I'm Elvis Preston.
And I'm Renee Vest, and we'll be with you until 12 o'clock. We are also streaming live on YouTube with the entire show available on our YouTube channel. Our focus today is the 2016 Easter traffic volumes and sports, of course. The South African cricket team and Bafana Bafana are facing crucial matches this long weekend. So instead of asking a question today, we request that you just send a little bit of support for our teams this weekend. Send your comments to our Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom and our Facebook page. But first, let's take a look at your news headlines.
Officials in Nigeria say Boko Haram militants have abducted 16 women in a remote northeastern area.
Belgian police arrest 6 people in connection with Tuesday's terror attacks in Brussels.
And the Road Traffic Management Corporation says law enforcement agencies will continue to maintain high visibility on the roads today. And as you can see, the volumes are piling up. We'll bring you an update on that story. But before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makhamate what's happening on the sports front. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Elvis. Good morning, Renee. Happy Easter to the both of you and to everybody else out there at home who does celebrate Easter. May it be blessed, and please make sure that you stay safe and don't drink and drive. This is what we've got for you in the sports today. Tributes pour in as Johan Cruyff, the legendary Ajax and Barcelona striker and coach, dies of cancer at the age of 68. Talismanic Springbok scrum half Fourie du Preez calls it a day on his sterling rugby career.
A classic scrum half try.
The Proteas face off against the powerful West Indies in a crucial World Cup clash in Nagpur today. Well, there you have it. It promises to be an absolute humdinger cracker of a weekend with almost all of our national teams in action. Now back to the main desk for the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's start off with our top story this morning. Officials in Nigeria says that Boko Haram militants have abducted 16 women in a remote northeastern area. The women were taken when they went out gathering firewood and fishing in Adamawa State. Now, local residents says 2 of the abducted women managed to escape. 2 years ago, if you can recall, on the night of the 14th and 15th of April, Boko Haram kidnapped 276 female students from the government secondary school in the town of Chibok in Borno State. A few of the schoolgirls managed to escape.
Belgium police have arrested 6 people in connection with Tuesday's terror attacks in Brussels, but a huge manhunt is still ongoing for the 3rd attacker at the Brussels airport, whose bomb failed to go off. The arrests came a day when Belgium's Justice and Interior ministers offered to resign over the revelations that 3 of the Brussels attackers were known to the police. Meanwhile, the Belgian king and queen led a country in observing a minute of silence on the 3rd and final day of mourning for the 31 people killed and 300 injured in the attacks. Belgium has lowered its terror alert to the 2nd highest level for the first time since the attacks, but soldiers are still guarding key sites and the public transport system shut down again in the early evening. U.S. Secretary John Kerry is due to arrive in Brussels today to show his solidarity.
Back home, an SABC News crew has uncovered the illegal sale of vehicle documentation at the notorious Johannesburg testing station in Langlaagte. Now, they were able to secure a car license disc and the owner's details illegally for just over R1,000 at the Langlaagte testing station. Now, one Johannesburg Metro Police Department official is now under investigation. SABC investigative reporter Griselda Lewis and camera person Kenna Mabina filed this report.
The Langlaagte testing station said to be fraught with corruption. Scamsters working with JMPD officials sell car papers illegally. We track one and call him.
Nemoto ayikho lana. Imoto is Eastern Cape.
What is the more important thing about ID? Okay,
When we arrive, we spot the fraudster casually pacing the corridors. Outside, he demands money. At our next meeting, to our surprise, more money is demanded. We do an electronic transfer and receive this complete license document of an unknown person and his car details and the disc. The price tag, R1,500. We then alert JMPD.
There is a possibility that she could be linked to a lot of other fraud where she issued license discs or even registering of vehicle fraudulently. So there is going to be a wider case, and then also where she will have to be charged criminally after being dealt with internally.
While the official in question is expected to be charged next week, the Johannesburg Metro Police Department does not rule out the possibility that more corrupt officials will be implicated in the vehicle document scandal. Criselda Lewis, SABC News in Johannesburg.
The Road Traffic Management Corporation says law enforcement agencies will continue to maintain high visibility today. Traffic was heavy on major routes across the country yesterday as the Easter weekend got underway. Many travellers were heading to Moria in Limpopo, where the ZCC Church is holding an annual Easter pilgrimage. Late yesterday afternoon, Pulani Toll Plaza on the N1 towards Polokwane recorded more than 1,500 vehicles per hour. Traffic officials say the death toll in a week leading up to Easter has dropped by 60% compared to last year. They plan to sustain their efforts throughout this long weekend.
As we continue to monitor traffic across the country today, we now turn our attention to the N1 North. That's towards Polokwane, as you know. Very difficult road there, where Sipho Stierman is standing by to give us an update. Sipho, very good morning to you. Can you tell us about the traffic there? When I look behind you, it doesn't look so congested.
Very good morning to you, Elvis. Indeed, this morning traffic here is not as congested as one would have expected. You mentioned in the introduction that this is one of the popular routes leading to the Moria pilgrimage here in Limpopo. And yesterday afternoon, they recorded nearly 2,000 cars per hour at this Pumlani toll gate here. But this morning, things have come down a little bit. If you look through there, there's just one or two, a few hundred vehicles coming through at this point in time. So it's not such a busy morning, which would indicate that the motorists and travelers have planned their journey well by leaving in the afternoon on Thursday.
How is the law enforcement there on that particular route? Has it calmed down, or have they taken some of the manpower away from there?
Well, on this particular route, Tshwane, of course, told us that they are highly visible all around these major routes leading to Polokwane and the other provinces. But coming here this morning, there hasn't been that much traffic visibility here. I think it's within the inner cities, because right about now, their concern is very much on drunk driving, and we know those activities happen within the inner city. However, a bit of good news is that they've told us that within Tshwane, of course, the routes that are leading to Tshwane here, that they haven't had any recorded fatalities. Of course, they've arrested a number of drunk drivers, but so far right now, they haven't had any fatalities that they've recorded, on the routes that are leaving and coming towards Tshwane. So, which means that is a bit of good news, because you remember that the government for this year has a target of reducing fatalities by 10%. You will know that last year, 2015, the Easter weekend fatalities really skyrocketed, reaching almost 300 deaths. It was 287 that were recorded last year. So that was a very high number, and this is a number that they want to reduce at least by 10% this year.
So no accidents reported this morning as yet?
At this point in time, there hasn't been that many accidents reported. Fatal accident, that is, that they have not been reported right about now. But of course, they will continue to monitor. They say this is just the start of the weekend. We still have a long way to go, and Easter Monday as well. So of course, we're going to keep monitoring and get those statistics through. But at this point in time, on just today alone, there hasn't been any fatalities, which is an encouraging sign, of course. But of course, the police will be on the roads and just monitoring that. Because another issue they speak of, particularly, Elvis, is the speeding matter, that a lot of people speed, and this leads to fatalities. So they will also be monitoring that and just ensuring that motorists keep within the rules. And remember, if you are nabbed today, you'll only appear in court on to to keep to the rules, because the courts will only open on Tuesday. So that means you will be spending your rest of your Easter weekend behind bars, and I don't think anyone wants that. So it is in the best interest of following the rules as we are told by the Metro Corps.
So it won't be a happy Easter weekend for the person being nabbed today. Now, Sipho, I just want to chat to you briefly about we spoke to the MEC a little bit earlier, and there's this phenomenon about the militias that's coming through, overloaded vehicles. Talk to us about this phenomenon. Where does it happen, and why does it happen on these roads, especially to Limpopo?
Well, we know that Limpopo is one of the popular destinations during Easter. The Moria pilgrimage is taking place there. So we always see a lot of travelers from various parts within Gauteng are going towards this direction. And they hire a variety of vehicles, whether it's the normal taxis or minibuses, and they hire other buses to carry them to their destination. So the problem is that they tend to overload these, and one would think perhaps the motorists or the drivers are greedy for huge profits, because this is a profitable time for people that offer transport services. So they load as many people as possible, and that tends to be a problem. And officials are always obviously looking out for that, saying that overloading vehicles is also an offense, and one will also be arrested for such activities.
Now, I was trying to see if there was any of those militias coming through so the viewers can actually see what we're talking about, but unfortunately it seems like we couldn't see any of the vehicles. But thank you so much for that update, Sipho Stierman, our reporter, live at the toll gate there. Now let's find out what's happening there. Hundreds of CCC pilgrims will be arriving at the ZCC Church headquarters in Moria outside Polokwane. Our reporter Mike Moringa is standing by. He's live on the scene there. Mike, a very good morning to you. Can you tell us about the situation there right now? What is happening?
Good morning to you and the viewers at home. It's indeed a very busy day. We have seen a lot of buses. I have lost count of buses that have turned in this busy intersection on the R71. This is the road that leads to Moria. Since last night, a lot of buses have been passing through here, private vehicles as well. We're still expecting 100 more buses to pass through this intersection as they make their way to Moria. Just to take you back, in 2012 when President Zuma was in Moria, when he visited Moria, there were about 22,000 buses alone. So we are expecting that number to increase. At this intersection alone, we have seen about 6 vehicles of traffic officials who are trying to usher traffic to go into the Moria side. This is the intersection where buses that are coming from Gauteng, buses that are coming from far north on your way from Zimbabwe, this is where they turn on their way to Moria. So as it stands now, we don't know the number of buses that have turned into Moria, but we'll get that figure as the weekend progresses. Alvin.
What about the law enforcement in the area there, Mike? Is there still a lot of traffic officials there?
Yes, traffic officials have been working. They worked throughout the night. All the way from between Kranskop and here in Polokwane, you cannot drive for 10 kilometers and not see traffic officials. Visibility this year was of paramount importance. This was also said by the Ministry of Transport when they launched the Easter weekend campaign, to say that they will have their traffic officers 24/7 on the road, and that was proven to be correct, because when we were doing our rounds on the N1, we have seen a lot of traffic officials. Even on this intersection, as we speak, there are a lot of traffic officials, but majority of them have gone to the Moria intersection, because what you see here, it's not a big deal. There's an intersection that goes into Moria. It is very busy because you've got cars that are coming as far as Palaburwa, Tsanin, Giyani. They are all going through that intersection into Moria. But yes, indeed, back to your question, there are a lot of traffic officials on the way who are here to see to it that people are driving on the speed that it's allowed on the road. And in other part of the province, we have seen majority of traffic officers mending the roads. Alvin.
Now, Mike, we know I can see all the buses traveling through there, and a number of vehicles as well. Any reported accidents as yet?
Yes, the only accident that we heard about, it happened very late last night. It was between Polokwane and Lotregad, where about 8 vehicles were involved, and Unfortunately, 2 people died on that accident. It happened late. We only got to know about it this morning. But also another incident that I must also bring to your attention. We have just got news when we were standing here that at Bila, police are mending a roadblock there. Some 3 vehicles came with cigarettes, illegal cigarettes that are coming from the border. The drivers of those vehicles flee and left their vehicles on the scene. The MEC for transport is on her way to the scene now. We'll give you more on that story as it develops, but as of now, the only thing that we know is that the drivers of those vehicles ran away and left the vehicles at the roadblock. We don't know the amount of cigarettes that were found or that will be confiscated on that roadblock, but the news just came in now. We'll inform you as the day progresses.
Thank you, Mike. You'll keep us updated on that story as it unfolds. Thank you so much. That's our reporter, Mike Moringa, there in Polokwane, just outside Polokwane. It looks like it's a very busy day on the road still, with the vehicles going to Moria, Renee. Some people are still on the road, well, today's the holiday, isn't it? It's Good Friday.
Yes, everybody wants to go home and go away for the weekend. But, I think it's quite a good statistic that we heard earlier. 60% decrease from last year. That's very good.
Fantastic.
But, of course, we still want to wish our viewers a very safe travel on the roads this weekend. Well, that was your news for this hour, but we'll be taking a short break, and Kendall is standing by with all your sports news.
Pay or renew your TV license at one of the 10,000 outlets nationwide, and you could win weekly prizes. Congratulations to these 10 TV licenses competition winners. Remember, you are still in line to win the grand prize of 50,000 Rand. Pay yours and stand a chance to win.
Preparing for victory requires intense effort and teamwork. When you get to it, there is no turning back, because all eyes are on you. When it's action time, nothing should stand in your way. Sports Live tackles and analyzes all the sport action. This is the home of all your sport news, updates, and more. Sports Live weekdays at 8:30 p.m.
I'm Peter Miller. And I'm Prabhakshini Chetty Miller, SAB Miller, and Hauser Bush InBev. It's something that I need to learn to say more often.
Will together produce around a third of the world's beer.
It is a mouthful. Have you ever considered skin bleaching?
Nigeria tops the list of African countries with 77% of its women bleaching their skin.
Now I can see that it is not good because it affects my face and some of my body parts.
Thousands of Arab Israelis and Palestinians participated in a big rally.
Flight MH17 was shot down by a Russian-made missile.
How those chips may fall is a prediction best left to the currency of time.
That's Primetime News, Africa Journal, and Your World on SABC News.
Good morning and welcome back on this Easter Friday. My name is Kendall Makhamate, and our top story for this particular bulletin is Bafana Bafana's mission heading to Cameroon is to cause an upset. They left Johannesburg yesterday bound for Limbe. An upset would prevent the hosts from expanding their lead at the top of Group M in the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. A win for South Africa against the indomitable Lions will also open up the group and create some excitement heading to the return leg.
Whether they like it or not, everyone in the Bafana Bafana setup is aware of the responsibility that lies ahead. It's a matter of teamwork. The contribution of experienced players such as Anele Ngonga could be the catalyst to help the team. His knowledge of certain individuals in the Cameroonian team is a commodity worthy of imparting to his teammates.
I've worked with the coach before. I know also what kind of coach he is, what he will bring to the team, and I will try to help the guys and to inform what kind of coach he is and what he will use. You know, and I spoke to some of the guys like Tawa and Tulani Tlatwaya about what kind of tactic he might use.
Nothing less than a win will help their cause of representation in Gabon in 2017. They find themselves in a situation that could be fatal. Cameroon's recent record at home has been good, and in the 2 games played so far, their campaign has been perfect. However, that is no reason for Bafana Bafana to doubt themselves. If anything, it should be motivating.
What we have adopted, let's work on our strong points and make sure that when we get there, we try to put them under pressure. You need players with a big match temperament. Players will be able to exert themselves to the fullest.
Encouraging is the satisfactory work the medical team has done on the players that had suffered knocks. All players should be available for selection. Johan Cruyff, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, now we've got Kuja Mankwa in studio with us to chat a little bit about all things football. And initially we were going to talk about this qualifier against Cameroon that Bafana need to play. But before we get too far into it, a few words about Johan Cruyff, the legend that passed away.
A legend, a master of the game. He played, he coached, he managed. He left an indelible legacy on the modern day football. And his person came as a shock to me. May his soul rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace. I'll have you know that in a little bit we'll be playing a package that a colleague of ours has prepared about Johan Cruyff and all the tributes that have poured in from the likes of Neymar, Ronaldinho, Pep Guardiola, and so on and so forth. So don't go anywhere. After this chat, we'll be doing that. Now, just a quick one, Kujo. Shakes Mashaba, he always talks up the team's chances going into any tie against anybody, whether it's a competition, a qualifier, or a friendly. Do we believe what he says about our chances against Cameroon?
If you are a patriotic South African, yes, you've got to be an optimist and hope that against all odds, it's now or never, he's going to grind results in Limbe, in Cameroon, and come home and ensure that he finishes the job he has started and bring South Africa's campaign back on track. But I said it's easier said than done. It's going to be very difficult because for the past 30 years, Cameroon have not lost at home, and that presents a very formidable challenge for him, and his charges is going to be difficult.
This is the first time that South Africa plays Cameroon in Cameroon, isn't it? Precisely,
and the history and the legacy. You know, Cameroon is one of the formidable sides of the African continent. They've won AFCON, a record 4 times in modern day era. And they've been able to beat Nigeria in Surulere. They've been able to beat Ghana in 2008 when Ghana was a host. And that tells you a story. They seldom lose at home. And even though it's not the old Cameroon that everybody knows, this is a young Cameroonian side that is also without most of their key players because the goalkeeper is not there. Carlos Kameni, who plays for Malaga in the Spanish league, is injured, is not there. A second string goalkeeper is in. And I guess Bafana have a chance. But having said that, a number of games have already been played. Mozambique traveled to Accra yesterday and they lost 3-1. At a point in time, they were losing 3-1, but they got a consolation goal. But for me, the shock for me was Guinea-Bissau against Kenya. Kenya went there with their inspirational captain, Victor Wanyama, who plays in the English Premiership team for Southampton. And they were all up and they said everything was okay. I spoke to Mark Oma actually about it before the game kickoff. And it was very upbeat that Kenya can have their own against Guinea-Bissau. And at the regulation time, they lost 1-0. Comoros Island, they drew with Ghana in the World Cup qualifier. People didn't sit up and look. And Botswana played them and lost against them. That tells you that on a modern day game, the gap between the so-called small nations and the established powerhouses are narrowing. Or maybe the smaller countries are doing something better. Thanks in part to the FIFA Go project that have come and instituted a number of things to ensure that everybody in smaller countries take football very seriously, and it's going to be very interesting. A game that I will be looking for, sit up to look for, are two games. Morocco against Cape Verde. Cape Verde have carved a niche for themselves to be the giant of African killing in as far as football is concerned. And again, you look at Egypt against Nigeria. They are going to Nigeria first, and they will go to Egypt in Alexandria some few days later. That is a massive one. Nigeria, as a defending champions, did not qualify for the AFCON in Equatorial Guinea, Gabon. Will it be a second year in a row they don't qualify? And that is going to present a massive psychological blow to Nigeria if they don't qualify. Against the backdrop that they are all, Sunday Olise, their coach, they term the Pep Guardiola of Africa, have resigned, and now Samson Siasia and an interim makeshift technical team comes forth and take these processes forward. It's going to be very, very interesting, whereas the Egyptians, in my view, have been very steady, playing friendlies and ensuring that they get their campaign back on track. The Egyptians are #1 in the group, and Nigerians are #2 with 4 points. If they lose home and away against Egypt, that will be goodbye to the event, and I don't foresee how the 160 million Nigerians are going to react and behave to Samson Siasia and his makeshift technical team.
You know, you talk about 160 million Nigerians are not looking forward to a loss by Nigeria and being kicked out of the competition 2017. But we're also looking at Bafana Bafana. And you said a few words a little earlier about how we can actually look forward to a possible upset against Cameroon. And also, you also said, don't look at the form book, because Bafana Bafana against Cameroon, it's a positive on the record books. But in reality, it could be totally different, considering that the squad that Shakes Mashaba is going into this match with is not necessarily top of the pops.
You see, Shakes is a very strange coach. He believes in the players he believes in, and sometimes he does not go by the conventional way of doing things. He's got his own way of looking at players. And I guess when he picks players that are not so-called performing or not informed, he's able to inspire them and get the best out of them. In the previous qualifier, he picked Bongani Ndulula, and we were all up in arms to say, but this guy is not playing for the then team Amazulu. Amazulu are battling in the Premier Soccer League. Why pick him? And yet he's sneaking some goals to ensure that they qualify. So on that score, I'll give him the thumbs up. But against a Cameroon side in Cameroon, where they seldom lost, you expect coach Shakes Mashaba to pick the informed players. My only gripe is the absence of none other than Keegan Dolly. We've seen him scoring goals after goals, and goals that can be one of the top drawers, goals that can be described as the goal of the season for the Premier Soccer League. And he's not there because he's in a friendly game. Why put a friendly game more important than a game that have all ingredients and that have all South Africans that will be in arms watching to see as to whether South Africa win or lose? And for me, that is the problem. But it's not cast in stone. Football is very dynamic. It can be very unpredictable, and let's hope against hope that he can pick maximum points against Cameroon to upset them for the very first time inside Cameroon, so that he can get his campaign back on track.
Well, Cujo, there's also quite a few other things that are happening in the world of football. One of them being Adam Johnson, the Sunderland and former Manchester City player, who's been, for want of a better word, I'd call him a paedophile.
Yes, you see...
he's going to face 6 years in jail for sexual activity with a 15-year-old girl.
You see, the law is an ass, and that is a technical term from the legal fraternity. They say the law is an ass. When you need it, it doesn't protect you. When you don't need it, it catches up with you. He thought he was a football star, and therefore he can do anything as he pleases. But in a sound democracy, no one is above the law, irrespective of your position and your standing as a celebrity in society. If you go against the law must take its course. And unfortunately, he's been found to have done illegal activities, and he's been given a 6-year jail term. For me, it's an end of his career, because he will never come back and, in my view, play football again. And it's a very sad way for an international player to exit, the scene of playing football.
Yeah, no, well, I do hope that he actually sits out his entire sentence, and other footballers know that they cannot take advantage of their position of power that they're in with everybody around them.
Precisely, sometimes when you become famous, when you become a national celebrity, you think you are above the law. And I'm very excited for deterrent of future will-be offenders. His example must deter them and show you that regardless of your standing, regardless of your influence, regardless of your status, regardless of how much money you have in your bank balance, you cannot simply take the law into your hands and do as you please. This is a very good example, not just for Europe, but for the international community to say that we are all under the law. No one is above the law, and if you transgress, the law will take its course.
Cujo, thank you so much for staying behind and chatting to us a little bit more about the football matches that everybody's looking forward to over the weekend.
Thank you very much. God bless you for having me.
No, thank you so much. Cujo Mankwa, have a blessed Easter weekend with you and your family. We carry on with other sporting news, and as you all know, and as we showed you in our headline, Johan Cruyff has passed away. But first, we talk about where South Africa's Rugby World Cup winning scrum half, Furido Priya, has retired, ending a 15-year professional career that included World, Tri-Nations and Super Rugby titles. The South African Rugby Union says du Preez, who played his final game for the Springboks at last year's World Cup, confirmed his retirement on Thursday. He ended his career at club level with Suntory Sankolath of Japan, where he also won 2 national titles. The 34-year-old du Preez was a pivotal member of South Africa's World Cup winning team of 2007. He played 76 tests for the Springboks between 2004 and 2015, and in a mark of his success, won more games than he lost against South Africa's Southern Hemisphere rivals New Zealand and Australia.
You can't come to tournaments as big as a World Cup and think you're going to win it on your own. You need the support of the whole country, and we've certainly felt the support during the first week. Being here, playing a couple of warm-up games, we've definitely felt a great vibe back home.
Basically, anyone can send a message as long as you use the hashtag #ProteaFire, then it automatically loads up onto the web page, and what happens is the whole team can view it. They can see it on their phones. There's messages up in the team room. Plug the computer in and guys can actually see on the big projectors, and that really helps a lot.
To have it in our team room here while we're playing our pool competition, getting your physio treatment with our team meetings, we've got this big screen up here the whole time. New messages of support, refreshing the whole time. I can see so many of them right there now on the screen, so it's great to see that, and it definitely motivates you a little bit to go out there and perform a bit better.
On the screen here, we've got 2 wonderful athletes running, AB de Villiers and Kyle Abbott, and I see they've got different running techniques. AB's got the floppy hands going, which is quite funny. I think we'll have a good laugh about that. So all the various messages come up on here, and you know, that type of thing just gives everybody a smile and keeps it lighthearted, but at the same token, it keeps us inspired.
It's incredible to see the amount of support. It keeps refreshing, and yeah, it's awesome to know there's a lot of fans out there behind us.
And you know, when you're far away from home, it's always lovely to touch base, and we feel the love that we're getting from all our supporters, and we're really grateful for that. You know, we have some big games coming up, and all the support and the messages of inspiration from everybody. We get to see it and we get to enjoy it, and we share it amongst the team to kind of G everybody up.
All you got to do is at the end of your message put hashtag #ProteaFire, and it will come directly to our team room, and we'll be able to read them. It's a great way to interact with the fans back home.
Does it have to be at the end of your message, the #ProteaFire?
It can be at the beginning.
Anywhere.
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 Hashtag #ProteaFire. Anywhere. Not at the end of your message. Anywhere.
Now, of course, you've all got comments about the Proteas and their must-win match against Chris Gayle. Oh, I beg your pardon, the West Indies. Well, it is pretty much Chris Gayle that they're going to be playing against and trying to take him out of the equation. Let's have a look at your comments on social media, see what you have to say. Right, match day for the Proteas. Fire against the Windies, a must-win for us. Come on, boys. You're gonna do. Hashtag World Cup T20. Muhammad Jackson and Cassidy Ngwashu says best of luck to official CSA Protea Fire for the upcoming T20 World Cup match. We desperately need that win. Mzansi is rallying behind y'all. Yes, we are. We desperately need this win as well as the one on Tuesday against Sri Lanka. Nkosinati, official CSA and AB de Villiers, as well as FAF 1307. Good luck, boys. We're behind you, and we will always be hashtag Protea Fire. Jeffrey Toyana. Hello, Jeffrey Toyana. Good luck to the Proteas today. Should be a cracker. Yes, we are expecting a cracker. Some of you will remember that that day at the Wanderers when AB de Villiers broke all those records. It was because of Chris Gayle. He wanted to bat the West Indies right out of the game. Now let's see what's going to happen. Who else has got comments on this after Jeffrey Toyana? That was the last one for now. We'll definitely be bringing you more news as well as analysis of everything sports, as well as everything news a little later. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we've got Elvis President who's standing by.
News Today keeps you informed with news locally and around the world.
When Judge John Hlophe challenged the Supreme Court of Appeal when it sent the matter back and said that there must be an inquiry set up.
We unpack business news.
There's an increase in general inflation in the country.
We give you up-to-date news of the day.
The drugs were seized at several locations in Sydney, including a shipping container sent from Hong Kong. Police saying it's the largest haul of illicit drugs in 2 years.
We round up sports news.
Kosata, tell me about the legacy that you would like to build and be remembered for.
Trying to get my foundation running, which is going to focus on, all the sport, doesn't matter disability or able body. So, I'm passionate about sports.
Stay informed every Monday to Friday from 3 to 5:30 p.m. CAT. SABC News.
Get all the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere.
.38, it's that time of the week again when we take a look at what the hot topics have been on social media. And it seems that South Africans, you love politics, don't you? From Gupta Gate to the ANC, NEC, Mcebisi Jonas, and even Human Rights Day, people have been sharing their views on the matter that interests them the most. Meanwhile, the bombing in Brussels have dominated international news trends. Joining us in studio is our social media expert and managing director of Roy Africa, Tonya Curry. Tonya, lovely to have you in studio again. Wonderful.
Lovely to be here. Thank you, Elvis.
It's Easter and we're still working.
I know, it's only us. The roads are quiet. It's the best time for Johannesburg. I love Johannesburg on a break.
Yes,
yes, it is.
Talk to us about the top trends in South Africa this week. It's clear that the Gupta saga, some call it Guptology, how to analyze that, was the top trend this week.
You know, what you said earlier about South Africans loving politics, we've noticed at ROI over the past 2 years or so that most of the time our charts are dominated by political issues in some way, shape or form. But what is interesting to see is that Gupta Gate, as they're referring to, has dominated our charts for 2 weeks solid.
Yes.
And that doesn't normally happen. We normally have a 48 to 72 hour bump of media and then it drops down. But in this instance, it's here to stay. What you're looking at now on the screen is the news media chart. This is taken from news media in South Africa in the past 7 days. 30% of our reporting is about the Guptas. And then the Zuma Q&A coming in at 6.89% and ANC NEC at 5%. So almost 41% of our news media belongs to this story.
I tell you. And because if you take that in consideration, it's Zuma, then Gupta's Mcebisi Jonas. Wait for Nikak, 0.21%. That's a bit disappointing, isn't it?
This is what's so tragic,
Yes.
is the Gupta story has drowned out any good South African news media or any good South African social media. We had Mrs. World, we had Miss South Africa, we had Wade van Niekerk. We've had so many good stories. We've got the Olympics coming up.
Yes.
And those are they're just drowned. There's
Right.
nothing else to talk, nothing to say about them.
The rand is also trending, we believe. People are very concerned about our economy as well as the
Yes.
rand. Has that made any difference in terms of the stats that you have?
One of the big stories is the Moody's potential downgrading of South Africa, and that came in strongly in news media, not so much in social media. I think we're so over, that sort of thing. We tend to focus on one or two big stories and we latch onto them. So big stories, the MH370 came in
Yes.
as quite a big story, so
Okay.
that they've discovered a piece of the plane here in South Africa, apparently. So that came in, and then, of course, the Gupta story just has so many additional stories that filter off it, and that's what we're seeing. Like in social media, almost 70% of our chart is in some way related to the Guptas.
Yeah. Now, going back to politics, because we're talking about the Guptas, what else, though, are South Africans interested in? Was there any other chart to show anything else besides just the Guptas or politics?
Yeah, a little bit. Human Rights Day was up there. Easter is up there. It's a big chunk of the pie. People sending greetings, wishing people safe travel. So that's up there. But really, we are so focused on this Gupta story. It's actually very fascinating to watch. And of course, the political parties and all the ministers or people related to the Gupta saga are being mentioned on social media, named on social media. So we're really involved.
Yeah.
It's not like we're just reading headlines here. We're really getting into it, and we know who's said what and when they've said it, and we're using that hashtag. And that, to me, is fascinating to see how politically savvied we're becoming as a nation.
I just want to see us if we can get that stat up again, because I also noticed at the bottom there, Fakey Mentor was also in there.
That's right.
Zuma Must Fall was also in there. And if you take a look at that, and even Eskom Tsotsi, so these all relate. And we mentioned the ANC NEC there. Zuma Must Fall. Oh, there's a song as well, 0.13%, eh?
The Zupta Must Fall song on social media and in news media a fail, but a lot of people had some nice things to say, but yeah, it didn't work from our statistical side. But yes, there are so many, like Gwede Mantashe coming in really strong as well. Thuli Madonsela is also in there. Of course, the foundation, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation also wrote that letter. That came in at 6%. In social media, that's even bigger. Themba Maseko is also up there. There's so many links, and that's what I'm saying. You can actually pull them out of the charts because they're so big, and we're focusing on those people.
Very interesting. Also pick it up.
Yeah.
The Johannesburg.
Nothing.
Almost nothing there. And, Thabo Mbeki at 2.7. And then, of course, we talked about the rand as well there. Campus protest, that has fallen down a little bit. It has come down, hey?
It has. And normally, like Fees Must Fall or campus protests in any way, they stay on our charts quite constantly. But again, they've been completely swamped. And it's sad to see, like, there's some big stories that should have got more media attention. The Chris Hani story, 0.26%. I mean, it didn't even make 1% on our chart. That just shows you how big the Gupta story is.
But it also points that people are still interested in elections. I look at municipal elections there, 2.43%. It's a remarkable increase, but we'll probably hear more about it as people start talking about it. Now, international news. Now, Brussels. I mean, it took probably the social media by storm, because we had it as some of our top stories this week at the SABC.
It did, Elvis. And like, it's interesting to watch, because on our social media on our international charts, Donald Trump has been dominating for the longest time. You can guarantee that Donald Trump will get 1 in 4 international stories. But if you have a look at the charts this week, he's been pushed right off the charts to 6.93%. And Brussels bomb attacks comes in at 51.5%. Really, really big story. And we saw the same thing happen with France with the terror attacks there. So that also made a really big impact. So we expected this. What is annoying to me is that African stories get such little coverage. So we had the Bemba judgment this week. I mean, those were war crimes. 0.09%, didn't even make 1%. We also had Benin had a new president, and 0.07%, not even made 1%. Obama's visit to Cuba didn't even make 5%. So just shows you how big the Brussels bomb attacks coverage is in relation to the other coverage across the world.
And it's true what you say. You know, Africa receives very little coverage. I mean, the bomb attacks on the African continent this week, this is not even covered.
It's not even here. You know. It didn't even make the charts. And I urge African news reporters like yourself and African journalists to make some noise, make a lot of noise, because we need to push our own agenda. Nobody else is doing it for us, you know.
Wonderful. And I see also here, very interesting, that the St. Patrick's Day celebrated at 3.96.
Bigger than Obama's visit.
I tell you, can you imagine, hey?
Just shows you. And look at the Fly Dubai jet crash, 0.9%. So very small. And it's all because we've got this really massive story coming in from the beginning of the week.
Anything that stood out? And of course, you also mentioned Easter. But why is it Easter? Is it because Christians that are going on holiday, or is it Christians that are celebrating Easter?
There are the celebration messages. There's the end of Lent coming up. People want to eat chocolate. There's the bunny stories. Like you know,
and pickled fish
and pictures of your holidays, you know, of your break, because we had the holiday earlier in the week, and now these are holidays. A lot of people took an extended break, so there's a lot of kikis, if you like, going out and about.
Expectations for the week ahead? It might be just traffic coming up in the following week.
Yeah, I believe so. I think that Easter will get bigger as we go along. I think the Brussels bomb attacks will swamp the international charts, and I think the Gupta story is not going to go away, not for at least another week, and we find that it's a giant as far as the media monitoring world.
Yeah, of course, also with the African National Congress investigating the situation right now, and a number of other probes into the Gupta influence on state capture, they call it.
Quite right.
But that's where we got to leave it. Tanya, thank you so much for joining us here in studio. That was our regular social media expert, Managing Director of ROI, ROI, hey? Tanya Corey in studio. Now let's take a look at our Facebook page and some of the stories that's evolving there. There you will see 3 people have been killed. Let me see if we can get it up here. Have been killed in a taxi accident on the N1 near Polokwane in Limpopo. There you can see it on your screen there. The famine early warning system network has warned of severe food insecurity across the southern African region in 2016 and 2017 after 2 years of consecutive drought, which have limited crop production. Still on the Facebook page, waste management company Pick It Up says their workers will be working during the Easter weekend. Wow! Johannesburgers must be happy right now. For more news updates, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for Newsroom. Type in the name Newsroom plus the day and the date and month, and of course you'll find us on the Facebook page. On the Facebook page there. It's on the, I beg your pardon. You know these terms, I'm getting lost on the Twitter page. Now let's take a look at some of the front pages from around the continent, on the African continent. Let's start off in Zimbabwe. The Chronicle reports that Mpilo Central Hospital in Bulawayo, it's one of the country's largest referral health institutions, has closed its outpatient department, citing a critical staff shortage as the stalemate between junior doctors and the Ministry of Health and Child Care rages on. And when we move on to Lesotho, the Lesotho Times says that the European Union has given Lesotho 35 million malottis for drought relief. And finally, in Nigeria, the Daily Trust reports that President Muhammadu Buhari has vowed to end election violence in Nigeria before the next general election in 2019. That's your newspapers from around the continent. Right now, after this, we'll take a short break, and the weather will be up next with your weatherman, the man that brings you all the weather. Zetsi Bonari is in the house, y'all. He'll be with you in a short while.
Hello there, welcome from the weather desk. So let's jump into it and see what you should expect. Possibilities of rainy conditions are coming in, especially towards the western half of southern Africa into the northern Cape Province as well as over Namibia. And it's going to be rainy for the next couple of days along those paths. Temperatures might also drop a little bit, but then it's going to remain warmer for Namibia, going up into Harare in Zimbabwe, and definitely over the northern parts of southern Africa. Here are your temperatures. Speaking of the warm conditions that are coming there, temperatures for Harare is at 27 degrees, Lusaka also included, and Windhoek also into the upper 20s. But there's possibilities of showers right along the northwestern interior. But Cape Town is nice and cool, 24 is what's coming up. As people are preparing for tomorrow's Two Oceans Marathon, do expect the windy conditions between today and tomorrow. And then by Sunday, it might turn into gale force winds. Winds goes up as about 60 kilometers an hour. Pietermaritzburg and Durban around 30 degrees, 29 for Maputo, and Beira is at 29 as well. Some rainy conditions are expected definitely towards the northern interior of the central part of southern Africa. Kampala is expecting a bit of rain. Kigali also up to 60% chance of rain coming up all the way into Rwanda. But moving towards the western side as well, do you expect much higher chances of rainfall for Brazzaville, Libreville, as well as over Yaoundé. Temperatures along those parts are going to be into the upper 20s. From Kigali as well as over Kampala, Juba, much hotter at 39 degrees. Addis Ababa is nice and cool at 23 degrees, and 36 is expected for Bangui. And Yaoundé at 31, do expect a bit of rainy conditions towards Brazzaville, Kinshasa. And temperatures along those parts are into the lower 30s. Luanda is at 31 degrees, 32 for Kinshasa and Brazzaville, and then at 30 will be coming up all the way towards Point Nord as well as over Libreville. Clear skies are expected for Seba, Luxor, as well as over Cairo. That's over the northern part of Africa. Port Sudan also expecting a bit of clear conditions, a bit of rain towards Djibouti, Mecca, and maybe even Sana'a. But by tomorrow, it would have cleared up, and we're only expecting sunny conditions for places such as Riyadh, Mecca, and Sana'a. Temperatures for Port Sudan at 29. Khartoum is at 42, 41 for El Fasher, and 36 towards Agadez. Some partly cloudy skies and temperatures between 31 and going down to 17 for Tripoli, Benghazi at 23, Cairo at 30. Also nice and hot conditions are expected along those parts. For West Africa, a bit of clouds developing just along the southern interior. Over the central and the northern part, it's going to be much clearer there. Temperatures looking pretty good along the coastal side. 26 for Dakar, Conakry at 33, and very hot weather for N'Djamena. As usual, at 42, Lagos at 33, 31 for Abidjan, and much cooler weather for the northern parts. For this Friday afternoon, 17 towards Tunis, Algiers at 19, and about 18 for Rabat. Marrakech at 22 degrees. So I do expect sunny skies there. No chance of rainfall is expected. Lagos at 33 with possibilities of showers, but then again, the rain just shies away from Ghana, going all the way towards Liberia. Not much rainfall is expected along those parts. If you want to communicate with us, weather at sabc.co.za, that's where you can email us, and the rest of our contact details are on your screens right now. Do stay tuned. There'll be more here on Newsroom.
Manor produces abstract and symbolic works of art. He called his latest collection Vote with Ink, Not Blood.
Praying for peace, literally, in my own way.
The South African film titled Luister or Listen in Afrikaans tackles issues of race in the country.
I think that the end goal is the reformation of institutional culture, but how we get there is in fact through changing the language policy so that no student is forced to learn in Afrikaans.
It's fashion designers like Julia Mpoko who are starting to pay more attention to menswear and hope to make a mark in the fashion industry.
So regardless of whether you're African, European, there's certain styles that you like. So if an African man enjoys wearing simple, well-tailored pants, then yes, I guess.
Join Refulo Mula for that 1 hour weekly dose of arts and entertainment news every Friday at 9 p.m. on Trends.
Tonight in an SABC exclusive news expose, we show you how firearm proficiency certificates are fraudulently sold for a few thousand rand.
What you did was illegal. Do you at least acknowledge that? What you did is illegal.
I say it could be probably illegal.
Nigeria is Africa's second largest tomato producer.
The chief executive of Enrisco says he started the company with a capital of $75 million.
The problem now is that the market has been created in China.
He says that doing business in the country is becoming more difficult every day.
We're heading to a future of cars that will drive themselves, and a place where robots will be doing some of our chores. But the challenge in Africa is to make sure that everyone is part of this new world.
To be behind with technology, it is a challenge for us as offenders.
There are many initiatives to ensure that Africans are truly connected.
We're now giving more access and internet to now the end users.
On Network, we have information on Africa's technology landscape, possibilities for the future, and some great African innovations. That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
It's 1100 hours Central Africa time on Friday, the 25th of March, 2016. It's Easter Friday. This is Newsroom on SABC News, Channel 404, Jumbo Africa. And a very warm welcome as we broadcast live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. I'm Elvis Preslin.
And I'm Renee Vest, and we'll be with you
until 12. We're also streaming live on YouTube with our entire show available on our YouTube channel. Our focus today is the Easter traffic volumes and, of course, some sport. The South African cricket team and Bafana Bafana are facing crucial matches this weekend. So today, instead of asking you a question, we request that you send messages of support to our Proteas and, of course, Bafana Bafana.
And that's a wonderful question, isn't it? I mean, there's no question really, but a wonderful gesture so people can send us their comments about Bafana Bafana. Why should Bafana Bafana win? And maybe the Proteas, that they shouldn't be called chokers today.
No, we just want to support our teams. That's what we do here in South Africa, is it? So, Elvis, of course, we want everybody to tweet us your views on SABC Newsroom, and our Facebook page is also available for those who don't have Twitter. But first, let's take a look at your news headlines.
Officials in Nigeria say Boko Haram militants have abducted 16 women in a remote northeastern area.
Belgian police arrest 6 people in connection with Tuesday's terror attacks in Brussels.
And the Road Accident Traffic Management Corporation says that law enforcement agencies continue to maintain high visibility on the roads today, which is Easter weekend, so you have to be careful on the roads. Now, those are all your headlines, but before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makhamate what's happening on the sports front. Very good morning to you.
Very good morning to the both of you. It seems like this is going to be a big weekend. Both of you talking about sports instead of other news. I'm loving it. Good morning to you. It's Easter Friday. This is what we have for you in the sports today. Tributes pour in as Johan Cruyff, the legendary Ajax and Barcelona striker and coach, dies of cancer at the age of 68. Talismanic Springbok scrum half Fourie du Preez called it a day on his sterling rugby career.
A classic scrum half try.
The Proteas face off against the powerful West Indies in a crucial World Cup clash in Nagpur today. Of course, you can also send, like Elvis and Renee were saying, your messages of support and inspiration to the Proteas by using the hashtag Proteafy. It comes directly to their mobile phones as well as their common room, where they can see exactly what you have to say about their match against the Windies. Now back to the main desk, where they've got more news for you.
Thank you, Kendall. That's all coming up a little bit later, so you have to stay tuned. Top story this morning, President Jacob Zuma is expected to attend a Good Friday event which is taking place at the Ellis Park Stadium. Now, the event is hosted by the Universal Church in Johannesburg. Aldrin Sampier now joins us live from the event. Aldrin, a very good morning to you and welcome. And can you tell us what the event is all about?
We hear you from the Ellis Park Stadium, where President Jacob Zuma is expected to deliver a message to the Christians here who've come out in their numbers to commemorate or celebrate Easter Friday or Good Friday as it's set on the calendar. And I'm just going to walk out of the shot just to give you a sense of the number of people that have come out here at Ellis Park Stadium. As you can see, the grandstands here are totally filled. We understand that there are some people who have now been barred from entering the stadium as the stadium has reached its full capacity. And you can see the level of excitement of all those who have come out here in their numbers. They're coming from different provinces, all the 9 provinces. We understand the different buses also outside, and people traveling through the Johannesburg CBD or around Ellis Park Stadium should note that some of the roads have been cleared, and you would see actually that there are many buses, and as indicated earlier on, those buses coming from different provinces as the members of the Universal Church come out here in their numbers to come and celebrate Good Friday here at Ellis Park Stadium. The sermon is expected to be delivered by Bishop Marcel, who is the leader of the Universal Church across the continent, and he'll be delivering the sermon. And then we expect President Jacob Zuma also to deliver that message on Good Friday. We also note that from his statement yesterday, when President Jacob Zuma wished all Christians a happy Easter weekend and a happy Easter Good Friday, and now we'll also probably hear from him around the issue around road safety when it comes to Easter weekend. We know that there is a high death toll when it comes to Easter weekend because of all the traveling that takes place. So we will be hearing from the President later on, and of course we will be taking that speech live. We will be broadcasting that speech live on Channel 404. And for those who couldn't make it to this Universal Church service, we understand from the organizers that the event will be simulcast at different venues of the church across the continent as well.
Now, do we know why the President chose this particular event and this specific event for today to be at?
Well, we don't have an indication why he chose this particular event, but what we should note that this is not the first time that the President has come to the Universal Church at this particular stadium to address members of the Universal Church. We note that back in 2014 as well. He was also here, and the church members at the time were really excited to have the President, and this time around having him again. I was speaking to the organizers, and they say to have the President choose them yet again, that for them is really an honor, having the #1 citizen of the country from the highest office in the land come here to address the church members. That for them is an honor. So we'll hear from the President the message that he'll be giving to all Christians, especially those who will be here at the Universal Church at Ellis Park Stadium.
What time is the event supposed to kick off, Eldrin?
Well, the event is expected to kick off any minute from now. The President has arrived, and in the background, as you can see, we have the Universal Church Choir. They've been entertaining the crowds here, and any moment from now, the event will be kicking off.
Eldrin, thank you so much for that update. That was our reporter, Eldrin St-Pierre, live from Ellis Park here in Johannesburg. Renee?
Thank you, Alvis. And now, some news from around the continent. Officials in Nigeria say Boko Haram militants have abducted 16 women in a remote northeastern area. The women were taken when they went out gathering firewood and fishing in Adamawa State. A local resident says 2 of the abducted women managed to escape. 2 years ago, on the night of the 14th and the 15th of April, Boko Haram kidnapped 2,076 female students from the government secondary school in the town of Chibok in Borno State. A few of the schoolgirls did manage to escape.
Now, Belgian police have arrested 6 people in connection with Tuesday's terror attacks in Brussels, but a huge manhunt is still ongoing for the 3rd attacker at the Brussels airport, whose bomb failed to go off. The arrest came on the day when Belgium's Justice and Interior ministers offered to resign over revelations that 3 of the Brussels attackers were known to the police. Meanwhile, the Belgian King and Queen led the country in observing a minute of silence on the 3rd and final day of mourning for the 31 people killed and 300 injured in the attacks. Belgium has lowered its terror alert to the 2nd highest level for the 3rd time since the attacks. But soldiers are still guarding key sites, and the public transport system shut down again. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is due to arrive in Brussels today to show his solidarity.
Pope Francis has condemned arms manufacturers as being partially responsible for the attacks in Brussels. The attacks killed at least 31 people in Brussels. During a Holy Thursday ceremony, the Pope washed and kissed the feet of 12 refugees, including 3 Muslim women.
As Easter approaches, Pope Francis humbles himself before a group of refugees. The Pope used the traditional foot washing, which he opened to all faiths in 2013 to condemn the deadly Brussels attacks claimed by Islamic State. But the Pope also condemned arms makers and the people who distribute the weapons, saying they too were partly responsible for Tuesday's bombings.
3 giorni fa, un gesto di guerra.
3 days ago, there was a gesture of war, of destruction in a city of Europe from people who don't want to live in peace.
Dietro quel gesto.
Behind that gesture, there were arms manufacturers, the arms traffickers who want blood, not peace, who want war, not brotherhood.
Non la pace, che vogliono la guerra, non la fratellanza.
3 suspected suicide bombers hit the Brussels airport and a metro train in the EU capital on Tuesday, killing at least 31 people and wounding some 270 others. Francis said the attacks were in contradiction to the idea that people of all faiths want and can live together in peace.
Coming back home, an SABC news crew has uncovered the illegal sale of vehicle documentation at a notorious Johannesburg testing station. Now, they were able to secure a car license disc and the owner's details illegally for just over R1,000 at the Langlaagte testing station. One Johannesburg Metro Police Department official is now under investigation. SABC's investigative reporter Griselda Lewis and camera person Kenna Mabina filed this report.
The Langlaagte testing station said to be fraught with corruption. Scamsters working with JMPD officials sell car papers illegally. We track one and call him.
Nemoto ayikho lana. Imoto isa Eastern Cape.
What is the more important thing about ID? Okay, finally you want to mail and then
when we arrive, we spot the fraudster casually pacing the corridors. Outside, he demands money. At our next meeting, to our surprise, more money is demanded. We do an electronic transfer and receive this complete license document of an unknown person and his car details and the disc. The price tag, R1,500. We then alert JMPD.
There is a possibility that she could be linked to a lot of other fraud where she issued license discs or even registering of vehicle fraudulently. So there is going to be a wider case, and then also where she will have to be charged criminally after being dealt with internally.
While the official in question is expected to be charged next week, the Johannesburg Metro Police Department does not rule out the possibility that more corrupt officials will be implicated in the vehicle document scandal. Griselda Lewis, SABC News in Johannesburg.
The Road Traffic Management Corporation says law enforcement agencies will continue to maintain a high visibility today. Traffic was heavy on major routes across the country yesterday as the Easter weekend got underway. Many travellers were heading to Moria in Limpopo, where the ZCC Church is hosting an annual Easter event. Later yesterday afternoon, Pulani Toll Plaza on the N1 towards Polokwane recorded more than 1,500 vehicles per hour. Traffic officials say the death toll in the week leading up to Easter has dropped by 60% compared to last year. They plan to sustain their efforts throughout the long weekend.
Now, as we continue to monitor traffic across the country, we now turn our attention to the N1 North towards Polokwane, where our reporter Sipho Steerman is standing by to give us another update. Sipho, any change from the last time we talked? Is there an increase in the travellers going through that toll gate?
Very good morning to you again, Elvis. And really, traffic has been steady here on the N1 towards Polokwane. But where we are right now, we are at the N1 petrol port. And this is one of the areas where motorists come and they come here to rest and refresh themselves. Because you'll remember, whenever the traffic officials speak of road safety, they always encourage that motorists take time to rest, because fatigue is said to be one of the reasons that lead to a lot of these road crashes. I mentioned the stats to you earlier on that last year we had 287 crashes just this Easter weekend alone. So that is a very high number, and now officials obviously want to decrease that figure. But next to me who's going to tell me more about this safety campaign is Felicia Molefe, who is from Gauteng Traffic Police Safety, Road Safety. Felicia, I see you're interacting with motorists. Can you just tell us what are you doing here at this N1 port?
At Petroport, what we are doing, we are interacting with pedestrians, passengers, and motorists. You know, we are encouraging them to take a break, not to drink and drive. They must not speed, because most of them, they leave the Petroport garage. Then you find that now they are flying. Most of them are getting to Polokwane. So we encourage you, we educate them to say, please take a break, 2 hours break, have a rest, stretch out, drink water, and make a point that you arrive safe.
I mean, I see you've got your stands there, you've got pamphlets. Are they coming through to you to talk to you and interacting with you? Is there a certain level of interest from the motorists?
Yeah, there are a lot of interest because we have put up our gazebos, and we are working with other stakeholders. Today we are working with Road Accident Fund, and we also have the SHARP people, the self-help disability people. So we are having stakeholders working with us. Yesterday we were working with RTMC.
All right. Now, can you just tell us how long are you going to be here? Are you going to be here for the rest of the Easter weekend? Are you here 24 hours? Just tell us the times that people perhaps can come to you here.
What we do, we normally come in the mornings, and late when the traffic has subsided, then we knock off. We cannot work because of some...
All right, okay. All right, well, that is Gauteng Traffic Road Safety official who was just telling us that, you know, they are pulling all the stops, they are interacting with the motorists, trying to encourage them to keep it safe on the road and mind their speed and rest when it's necessary. And they are going to be here up until late in the afternoon as they continue to monitor the traffic.
That was our SABC News reporter, Sipho Stierman. Thank you, Sipho, for that update. Now, as you know, hundreds of ZCC pilgrims will be arriving at the church's headquarters in Moria outside Polokwane. Our reporter Mike Moringa joins us live from the scene for a quick update there. Mike, any changes in the traffic there, and how is the situation right now?
Elvis, traffic is still flowing in between Polokwane and Moria on the R71. Just in front of me, there's a mobile control office. This is where they are able to check the number of cars that are passing here per an hour. We can now confirm that plus minus 720 vehicles pass through this road per an hour into Moria. And majority of those vehicles are obviously buses that are coming from Gauteng and other parts of the country. And our neighboring countries like Botswana. Botswana has got a lot of people who go to Moria during this time of the season. But one other thing that we have just got now is the statistics in the province since the launch of the Easter safety campaign. The province has experienced about 17 crashes since the launch of Arrive Alive campaign. And in those 17 crashes, 3 people have unfortunately died. That's what we have at this stage, Elvis.
What do you hear from the authorities there? Or do they expect an increase in the traffic during the course of today, or will it subside?
Yes, I had a chat with them. Unfortunately, they don't have authority to come and speak on the camera. But what they are saying is that the traffic volumes were very high in the evening. Most buses made their way into Moria between 12 and 2 a.m. this morning. This is solely because buses are coming from far and they are trying to avoid traffic on the N1. But officers have also indicated that bus drivers, taxi drivers have been complying with the road rules So far, none of these buses have been confiscated or taken off the road. They are all still doing fine on their way to Moria.
Mike Maringa, thank you so much for that update. That's our reporter on the scene, SABC's News, Mike Maringa. Now, 5 prominent scientists, including one from South Africa, have been awarded a very special UNESCO Women in Science Award at a ceremony in Paris. Professor Quaresha Abdul Karim from Durban was given her award for her groundbreaking work in tackling HIV across Africa.
Professor Quaresha has devoted more than 25 years to tackling the spread of HIV in Africa. Widely respected, she is a member of the Academy of Science of South Africa and the African Academy of Sciences. A clinical trial led by her in 2007 was the first to show that a topical gel could reduce a person's risk of contracting HIV.
To date, 92 eminent scientists have been recipients of this award across the 5 regions of the world. And so I was really thrilled, honored, and an absolute privilege to learn that I'm joining the ranks of these eminent scientists.
Professor Quaresha was chosen for what judges described as her remarkable contribution to the prevention and treatment of HIV, improving lives of women across Africa. The 4 other winners at the L'Oréal UNESCO Women in Science Awards were from France, the US, China and Argentina. They were nominated by 2,600 scientists from around the world.
The awards recognise the valuable contribution that the winners have made, but it's also hoped that it will encourage more women to become involved in science.
Speaking to the SABC, one of the award judges said it is vital to get more women to become leaders in the field of science.
Encouraging women to actually be interested in taking science as a career, and also within institutions, ensuring that women and men are given equal chances.
Each new laureate receives prize money of €100,000, around 1.7 million rand. Professor Quaresha explained what she'll be spending the money on.
20% of the money to set up a fund together with an international organization that recognizes women's science leadership in developing countries. And the rest of the money will be used towards research. We never ever have enough money for all the work that needs to be done.
All the winners hope the awards will continue to drive more women into science. Dan Whitehead, SABC News, Paris.
Absolutely fantastic. Hey, Renee, look at that, a South African woman.
Some good news for a change, Elvis.
Yes, eh? Now, isn't that fantastic? I believe her husband is also a scientist.
Family of scientists, I heard.
Well, there you have it. Well, we will be taking a short break, and we'll be right back after that. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Juno Award winner, singer, songwriter, performer Lorraine Claassen is paying tribute to the living jazz legend, her very own mother, Thandi Claassen, and friends Dolly Radebe, Sophie Mqina, Abigail Kubeka, and Dorothy Masuku, in a documentary film, The Legends of Madiba, that shines the spotlight on the trials, the tribulations, the fame and the fortunes of these iconic South African songbirds of the 50s and the 60s. Now, earlier, I spoke to Lorraine and asked her to tell us more about this documentary film.
When I decided to make this film documentary, I was inspired not only by my mom's life, but when I've seen these ladies as I grew up as a little girl, I used to see and I was very inspired by all of them. And their stories are just captivating. And I thought to myself, why don't I not only share my mom's stories, but share their stories as well? So I decided how I'm going to do this because, you know, I live in Canada and they all live here. So I thought the best way to do was to fly them into Canada. So I flew them all in and they all stayed in my home. And I got this film producer, Helen Henshaw. And I said to these ladies, can you tell me your life stories, but in their own words? So there's no question period about this and that. They were just speaking freely. And it was amazing, the material that I was able to get from them. The difficulty I had, Elvis, was the editing. What do you keep? What do you let go? Because their stories are so unique. They are 5 women, but all of their stories very similar and yet so different. What was it like growing up in the 50s as a black woman, as a performing artist? They talk about how they used to have their sequin gowns and going in the back kitchens and performing for all these white people and to go back in the back kitchens, staying outside waiting for transportation and every car that's just passing them by. But also for me it was a story of determination, of endurance, of perseverance, despite all those things. And how beautifully they complement each other because they got different styles, you know.
I can imagine the chemistry between the 5 of them.
And you can imagine them all being together under one roof for 2 weeks. Because usually when they all get together here, they go to a show and everybody goes their way and they not really interact or even have a chance to talk to one another. So they were like stuck with, you know, with each other. And it's something really to be seen, but I'm so glad because, as you know, Auntie Dorothy Masuku is no longer there. I mean, excuse me, I shouldn't say that. I meant Auntie Dolly Ratebe, Auntie Sophie Mtrina. But their stories will forever be told. And I'm showing this documentaries in schools, and I thought it's a perfect opportunity to honor my mom by having this screening film done right where she was born.
In Sophia Town.
In Sophia Town.
2 weeks they were stuck together and you filmed the process. How long did it then take you to finalize the entire process, the editing purposes? And
that took a little while because it was 2000 and I had to find somebody that could do the editing because I don't know how these things work. I just was recording everything in a bunch. And actually out of that documentary I could probably do 2, 3, 4 because of the material that I have. So that took a little while to do, but I wanted it to be for them to see it themselves too while they were still, you know, around. And of course, everybody got their own copies and they were able to see it. But it took a little while. It really took a little while. But,
were there some of the challenges that you encountered during that process in terms of finalizing the film and getting it done at that point in time?
Well, I was very happy that the Canadian, what do you call it now? Grant, where they're helping with, you know, that also came in quite very handy. But the difficulty was, as I mentioned earlier, is like, what do I take out of this material? Because it's 45 minutes, but yet the life stories of these women, it's like an abundant amount of material that I had, you know. So when I walk away from this documentary, you could see my mom, how they looked like in the 50s, how gorgeous they were, and you hear my mom's tragedy stories also, how it affected the community. And so it was not just a story about them, it was also when you hear how people felt about who these women are. And I think that we should not wait until somebody passes and all of a sudden, you know, we talk about their stories because Mom is true, she's known to be this funny woman, she sings, you know, but there's a story behind the person.
That's right.
And there's also a story behind all these women have their stories to tell. So for me, during Black History Month in Canada, I've always shown it. In schools, I've shown the films. Anywhere that I could have the story be told, I'm telling the story because they belong to the people.
And finally, that story is here. It's going to be premiered on the 1st of April.
The 1st of April in Sophia Town, and then the 2nd in Thokoza Auditorium.
Why is this so important?
Well, I think for me it was very important. You know, my mom suffered a stroke last year, and it has affected her speech. But it hasn't dampened her spirit. And I find Mom is like a plant. If you don't put water, she withers away, you know, like, and I thought, let me do something that she's still alive and people can come and see her instead of having this videotape tucked under my drawers, you know, at home, take it out and share the story with everybody. And she was born in Sophia Town. That's where she grew up. And I thought it's a wonderful way to start it there and a beautiful way to end it in Thokoza, where we grew up.
Tickets are available, and how much are they?
Tickets are available at the door. If you call in advance, I think it's about 120. If you think you have a lot of money and you want to buy at the door, they're about 140, you know. So you decide which one you want, you know. But, and a beautiful band that's going to be backing us musically, Becky Koza's ensemble, you know, he's very African. No, my mom does jazz, so I'll be doing a couple of my mom's jazz songs to pay tribute to my mom. But me, I'm a cultured woman. I like African music, you know, and I write and I compose my own songs. So it will be a nice combination of how we're going to balance the entertainment part of it.
Well, that was Lorraine Claassen. Now you have to stay tuned. After the sports news with Kendall, we will have a special performance with Lorraine Claassen, a tribute to her mother, straight after Kendall, after this break.
Get all the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back. I'm Kendall Makamate with the sporting news. Now, it's been a big footballing night and morning as former England international soccer player Adam Johnson was jailed for 6 years after being found guilty of sex offences involving an underage 15-year-old girl. The 28-year-old Johnson also played for Manchester City before joining Sunderland for $14.5 million in 2012 on a 4-year contract. He was convicted earlier this month of sexual activity with a child, having already admitted kissing and grooming the teenager.
Fitting tribute for one of soccer's greatest players and influential and visionary coaches from the Dutch Prime Minister.
Begin uiteraard met het droeve nieuws.
He was the man who put a lot of his energy for our society after his active football career. I had the privilege to meet him a couple of times in that role. I received a lot of people in the Little Tower, but never did I experience during one of those visits that every single member of General Affairs insisted in having a picture taken with him. And really, I have never experienced this with any other visitor. In that respect, he really was the best-known Dutchman worldwide.
Toen Johan Cruyff, ik geloof zonder dat ook maar één Duitser de bal aanraakte, een penalty veroorzaakt.
Unquestionably the best player in the world in that period, alongside the pair widely considered the finest to have played the game, Pele and Diego Maradona. Cruyff was voted 3 times winner of the prestigious Ballon d'Or. Back in Barcelona, where Cruyff set a then world record transfer fee of $2 million, the club and its fans gathered at the Camp Nou to pay tribute to one of their own. The club's president Joseph Bartomeu and its captain Andrew Iniesta thanked Cruyff for his contribution to the team and the game of football in general.
Aquests dies, ara, aquests moments, i ho parlem sempre, no? Les gràcies que la gent dona al Johan i ha donat sempre.
We will always give thanks to Johan. He brought change and a new philosophy to soccer. He influenced a whole generation of soccer. Without Johan Cruyff, Barca, as it is today, would not be understood.
El futbol a través d'ell com a jugador i entrenador, per tant, el Barça actual no s'entendria sense la figura de Johan.
Un día muy triste para todos, no solo para.
It's a very sad day for everyone,
not only for the Barca family, but also for world soccer and for anyone who has seen the influence he has had on soccer.
Han visto la influencia que ha tenido una persona como él en el fútbol y
The Dutchman was also a key player in the great Netherlands team that reached the 1974 World Cup final, when a global audience saw him perform the now famous Cruyff 10. Cruyff reportedly died surrounded by his friends and family at his home in Barcelona, and had heart surgery in 1991. His death comes less than 6 months after he announced that he had been diagnosed with lung cancer.
Right, tweets have come in, and Johan Cruyff, 1947 to 2016, rest in peace. These are tweets that have come from around the world, condolences, messages of condolence, as well as from FC Barcelona saying, we'll always love you, Johan Cruyff. KNVB says, it's with great sadness that we've learned of the death of Johan Cruyff. Words cannot express the loss we feel. Hashtag 14 FIFA, rest in peace, Johan Cruyff, a true footballing visionary. Everybody is giving their messages. UEFA as well, officially saying UEFA is saddened to learn of the death of the legendary player, coach and administrator Johan Cruyff, aged 68. AC Milan, a great rival for AC Milan, an idol and mentor to Marco van Basten. Goodbye, Johan, you will be missed. Chelsea Football Club, rest in peace, Johan Cruyff. Football has lost a legend. And they keep coming. Manchester United, everybody at Manchester United is saddened to hear of Johan Cruyff's passing. He was a true football legend. Now, Sergio Ramos, goodbye to one of the all-time legends of football. Player and coach ahead of his time. Rest in peace, Johan Cruyff. Vincent Kompany, Johan Cruyff, the true football royalty. I don't think anyone has ever influenced the game as much as he has. Vincent Kompany says we've all been touched and inspired by his vision and his beliefs. Football will miss him, but we'll never forget Johan Cruyff. Thibaut Courtois, rest in peace, Johan Cruyff, legend. Hashtag number 14. Radamel Falcao, Colombian player, Colombian star, will always remember Johan Cruyff as a real legend, 1947 to 2016. Lucas Podolski said, sad news about Johan Cruyff, rest in peace, Johan Cruyff. 46 retweets when he got this. Jürgen Klinsmann, very sad news about the death of legend Johan Cruyff. What an amazing player, coach, teacher, and person he was. Osvaldo Ardiles, Johan Cruyff, a revolutionary player, best ever Dutch player, the talisman of one of the best teams ever, Holland 74. Jamie Carragher, Johan Cruyff, one of the most influential figures on our game we've ever seen. May he rest in peace. Peter Schmeichel, terrible news that Johan Cruyff has passed away. One of the greatest players ever, a true giant in our game. He will be sadly missed. And then Ian Rush, MBE, very saddened by the passing of Johan Cruyff, a dear friend, an unbelievable player, and a national hero. Lothar Matthaus, such sad news about Johan Cruyff, a great man who transformed football. Condolences to his family and friends. Legend, hashtag Total Football. There you have it. All those tweets from all those great footballing heroes and football clubs saying goodbye and thank you very much to this man who's actually done what Kujo Amankwa early on said nobody has ever done before. He's actually transformed the world of football. Total football came into being, and the way people play soccer right now is very different to how it was played before. We've got Jose Mourinho, who's the antithesis of his possession football, who's all about standing back and waiting for the guys who've got the ball to make the mistakes. Well, he's actually going totally in opposite to what he was taught by Cruyff, but that also is actually a testament to how well this man has done to transform football. We know that Pep Guardiola learnt at his feet. We know that Louis van Gaal learnt at his feet. Frank Rijkaard. We know that Ruud Gullit. They all learnt at this man's feet, and they all learnt what they did from what this man had to teach them as a coach as well as a former striker. May his soul rest in peace. Staying with football, Bafana Bafana's mission heading to Cameroon is to cause an upset. They left Johannesburg yesterday bound for Limbe. An upset would prevent the hosts from expanding their lead at the top of Group M in the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. A win for South Africa against the indomitable Lions will also open up the group and create some excitement heading to the return legs.
Whether they like it or not, everyone in the Bafana Bafana setup is aware of the responsibility that lies ahead. It's a matter of teamwork. The contribution of experienced players such as Anele Ngonga could be the catalyst to help the team. His knowledge of certain individuals in the Cameroonian team is a commodity worthy of imparting to his teammates.
I've worked with the coach before. I know also what kind of coach he is, what he will bring to the team, and I will try to help the guys and to inform what kind of coach he is and what he will use You know, and I spoke to some of the guys like Tawa and Tulani Slatwa about what kind of tactic he might use.
Nothing less than a win will help their cause of representation in Gabon in 2017. They find themselves in a situation that could be fatal. Cameroon's recent record at home has been good, and in the 2 games played so far, their campaign has been perfect. However, that is no reason for Bafana Bafana to doubt themselves. If anything, it should be motivating.
What we have adopted, let's work on our strength points and make sure that when we get there, we try to put them under pressure. You need players with a big match temperament. Players will be able to exert themselves to the fullest.
Encouraging is the satisfactory work the medical team has done on the players that had suffered knocks. All players should be available for selection. Johan Cruyff, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now, Ghana's good form in the 2017 Gabon AFCON qualifiers continued with a 3-1 win over Mozambique at Ohene Jan Stadium in Accra. The victory takes the Black Stars to 9 points in Group H after 3 games, followed by Rwanda with 3 points after 2 games, while Mozambique remained rooted at the bottom of the group without a point after 3 matches.
Ghana went into the fixture missing the experience of Asamoah Gyan due to a hamstring injury. However, the Black Stars had enough firepower to put 3 past their opposition. Ghana were the quickest out of the blocks and were duly rewarded with an opener inside the first 5 minutes. Mozambique had a chance to pull level in the 23rd minute, only for South African-based midfielder Elias Pelembe to be let down by his final touch. The first half belonged to the home side, creating a number of chances. However, they were wasteful in front of goals. The second stanza saw the Black Stars dominating position early on, however were left frustrated by a resolute Mozambican defense. It took a controversial goal by captain John Boye after the visitors failed to clear from a corner to give Ghana a 2-0 lead. Minutes later, Ghana were 3-0 up after Jordan Ayew caught the Mozambican defense napping. However, Mozambique managed to pull one back and register their first goal of the 2017 AFCON qualifiers with 23 minutes of regulation time left. In the end, Ghana proved too strong for the struggling Mozambican side. The Black Stars can seal qualification with a win against the same opposition this coming Sunday. Joseph Mohale, SABC News.
Now, South Africa's Rugby World Cup winning scrum half Fourie Priya has retired, ending a 15-year professional career that included World, Tri-Nations and Super Rugby titles. The South African Rugby Union says du Preez, who played his final game for the Springboks at last year's World Cup, confirmed his retirement on Thursday. He ended his career at club level with Suntory Sun Goliath of Japan, where he also won 2 national titles. The 34-year-old du Preez was a pivotal member of South Africa's World Cup winning team of 2007. He played 76 tests for the Springboks between 2004 and 2015, and in a marker of his success, won more games than he lost against South Africa's Southern Hemisphere rivals, New Zealand and Australia. And now just to remind you of how important today is in the world of cricket and the Proteas, here's Fireball.
I was born in a flame. I'ma say that every word will know my name. I'm the best you've ever had. If you think I'm burning out, I never am. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Fireball. Fireball. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but I don't care what y'all say. Cause as the world turns, y'all boys gonna learn that the secret right here don't play. That boy's from the bottom on the map, MIA USA. I gave Susie a little pat up on the booty and she turned around and said, walk this way. I was born in a flame. Mama said that every word was know my name. I'm the best you've ever had. If you think I'm burning out, I never am.
Fireball.
Listen to the crowd.
Inspire Protea Fire at the ICC World 2020 in India. Tag your posts with the hashtag Protea Fire. Then go
Now, as promised, Lorraine Clausen performed a little bit earlier for us, and here's one of her songs. Enjoy the performance and have yourself a lovely Easter.
Yeah,
From
have
the
a
team.
beautiful one. People must drive safe and keep it safe the whole weekend.
That's it.
Yes, that's all we ask. Be safe on the roads this weekend.
Enjoy.
Ibuyele khaya lapho kuzoba mnandi bo ngiyajabula mina ngoba ngizojiva nomama musithanda iclass akekho fana naye namhlanje abantu bakithi ngoba mina ngibuyele ekhaya South Africa lapho kuzoba mnandi bo ngiyajabula mina awena ngizojiva mina nawe sithandwa sami